Chapter 449. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Let's go back first, Knight Sorrow said as he patted Lei Bao's shoulder. When they arrived at the campsite, Knight Sorrow entered his tent and sat down cross-legged to meditate and heal his injuries. His injuries weren't serious, but his internal organs were shaken. His main problem was that he had consumed too much of his genuine qi and myriad Dao treasured tome. He couldn't even activate the Golden Phoenix battle armor. At this moment, the Bloodstrike guards, Hou Jian, and the rest surrounded Knight Sorrow's tent. Gong Xian, who had delivered the sky-piercing spear, was among them. Everyone's expression was unsightly because Yi Shang's injuries were caused by the Scarlet Cloud sect. Vice Captain, we can't let this go. Let's kill them. Xue Fei's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Of course we can't let this go. Let's wait for the captain to finish healing, Xue Ling said with killing intent in his voice. After an hour, Knight Sorrow came out of his tent. With the help of the spiritual liquid of origin and spiritual liquid of life, he had almost recovered. The punch wasn't much of a problem. Without saying a word, Knight Sorrow walked toward the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect with the reincarnation spear. If he didn't say anything after being tricked, he wouldn't be Knight Sorrow. Hou Jian and the others, as well as the blood-robed guards, followed. They all had stomachs full of anger. Everyone knew that if it weren't for Knight Sorrow, even if they weren't completely wiped out, they would have suffered heavy losses. What are you doing? Seeing Knight Sorrow and the rest coming over, the disciples of the Scarlet Cloud sect were on alert. What are we doing? Ask your supervisor to come out. He's the leader of today's battle, Knight Sorrow said as he pointed at the tent in the middle of the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect. In the command tent, a group of honorables was discussing how to deal with this matter. When they found out that Knight Sorrow and the rest had arrived at the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect, everyone stood up. What should we do? Qin Nan looked at Lei Hua and asked. Lei Hua was currently wearing the Qinji Tower mask, but Qin Nan knew that Lei Hua was actually the second-in-command in the City Lord's mansion. We'll see how it goes. If it's not too much, we'll just let them do as they please. This Scarlet Cloud sect is truly too shameless. Lei Hua said. An old man walked out from the middle tent of the Scarlet Cloud sect. He was the elder of the Scarlet Cloud sect, Qiang. He was at the late stage of the Fifth Order. Although his cultivation was high, he couldn't handle 3 mid-stage Fifth Order dark zombies. Therefore he gave the order to charge at Yishan. If you commit suicide to atone for your sins, I'll pretend nothing happened today, Knight Sorrow said coldly to Crimson Shadow. What are you thinking? Qiang coldly snorted. You must die today. My injury is a small matter. What do you think the brothers behind me are? Knight Sorrow said as he waved his reincarnation spear. Prepare for battle. Qiang snorted coldly and ordered the disciples of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Insolent. You don't dare to fight the darkness zombies, so now you want to show off your might. Surround and kill. Knight Sorrow shouted to the people behind him. At this time, the disciples of the Medicine Valley camp, the Thunder Rumbling sect camp, and the Southern Dipper sect camp all came over. The people of the Holy Light Temple also came to the periphery. The ones who did not move were the Free and Unfettered sect and the Star Cloud sect. What are you guys doing? Qi Ying's expression changed. Nothing much. You can't trick the disciples of the Medicine Valley. Gong Xian coldly said. Yes, you tricked the disciples of the Thunder Rumbling sect. Go to hell. Lei Juyun, who was leading the disciples of the Thunder Rumbling sect, also roared. What are you waiting for? Captain, give the order to kill. Hou Jian walked to Knight Sorrow's side and said. You can't do this. Qi Ying's expression changed. It was already difficult for the Scarlet Cloud sect to deal with Knight Sorrow's group, not to mention that there were so many of them. If they attacked, the entire Scarlet Cloud sect would be wiped out. Qiang, take your own life as an apology. I will guarantee that the rest of your Scarlet Cloud sect will be fine. Lei Hua looked at Qiang and said. This is not fair, I don't accept it. We came here to fight for the Eastern Shen domain. Qiang swung his arm and roared. Do you think this is your capital to mess around? You are from the Eastern Shen domain, so it is natural for you to fight for the Eastern Shen domain. Do you think that few people have died during this period of time? Did anyone run away or retreat? Your Scarlet Cloud sect was the first to run away. Moreover, when you retreated, you used despicable means. Therefore you must die. Lei Hua coldly said. Hearing Lei Hua's words, Qi Ying's beard trembled, but he didn't say anything to refute. Lei Hua's words hit the nail on the head, and what he said was the truth. If you take your own life, then this matter will be considered a personal mistake. If you make another choice, then the nature of the matter will be different. Before the external war, it is normal for us to clean up the internal troubles. It can be said that I am doing this to give your Scarlet Cloud sect a chance. Qingnan said. I hate. Qi Ying roared and slammed his palm on the top of his head, shattering his spirit ocean. Listen up, Night Sorrow, don't care if you participate in the war or not. However, if anyone dares to trick me or the brothers behind me, I won't let this matter rest. Retreat. After issuing a warning to the members of the Scarlet Cloud sect, Yi Shang ordered Hou Jian's group and the Bloodstrike guards to retreat. Night Sorrow and the others left, and so did the others. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow's words weren't just for the Scarlet Cloud sect. It could be understood as a declaration to everyone. After returning to the camp, Night Sorrow waved his hand at his brothers and told them to rest. He returned to his tent to continue cultivating and calming the blood in his body. Qingnan and the others also returned to the command tent. Fortunately, this fellow didn't lose his mind. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't be easy to control, Qingnan said. In fact, if Night Sorrow didn't let go of this matter and directly attacked, the group of high-level cultivators of the eastern Xian region would have to take action. In order to quell public anger, the Scarlet Cloud sect would be wiped out. Yes, he might not be willing to accept it, but for the sake of the big picture he was able to control his emotions. This is very rare. Not only did he display amazing combat strength, but he also controlled the situation very accurately. His battle awareness is also very strong. At the critical moment, he was able to calmly command his subordinates to retreat. He is impeccable. He is a perfect seedling. Lan Yuxuan was very satisfied with Night Sorrow's performance. At that time he had already fought for 2 hours. If he was at his peak, the battle wouldn't have been so difficult, Dai Tianxiang said. Fastest K on Hicks, I have no choice but to admit defeat. Most importantly, he has a very powerful spatial slash. I observed him for a while, but I still couldn't figure it out, Arden Feng, who had been silent all this time, said. Let's not talk about this for now. When he fights again, pay more attention to his safety. His performance is so outstanding that the Dark Spiritual Corpse will definitely notice him. If there is an assassination, it will definitely target him. Lei Ho was a little worried about Night Sorrow's safety. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was recuperating in his tent, discovered a special situation. His fourth bloodline ability had completely loosened and could be activated at any time. Chapter 450. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. As Night Sorrow's 3 innate bloodline energy points surged, Night Sorrow's 4th innate bloodline energy point erupted and merged with the first 3. Love go little sake. Night Sorrow felt that his 4th innate bloodline energy point had more potential. Although it didn't release much energy, it had a lot of room for development after cultivation. The 4 innate bloodline energy points gathered together and began to operate on their own, absorbing the spatial energy between heaven and earth to strengthen themselves. Good. Night Sorrow roared in his heart as he activated his 4th innate bloodline energy point. It didn't increase his basic strength, but it increased his actual combat strength by a lot. After Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy was activated, not only could he use spatial rend, but he could also merge it with his body and temporarily increase the myriad Dao Tome's energy and true Qi. However, Night Sorrow hadn't used it recently. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow's condition was very good. He wasn't affected by the punch at all and had completely recovered to his peak state. When Night Sorrow came out, the Bloodstrike guards, Hou Jian, and the others were cultivating their combat skills. Moreover, the fire was already lit and the game was roasting over it until it was golden and dripping with oil. Captain, if you didn't come out, we would have gone to call you. How are your injuries? Nan Liu asked. I've completely recovered. There aren't any problems, Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's good. Let's eat and drink some wine before we continue fighting. Nan Liu said as she pointed at the wine beside the fire. Where did you get the wine? Night Sorrow asked. The Star Cloud sect provided it. They did a good job this time, Hou Jian said. Then let's eat and drink to our heart's content first. Night Sorrow said with a smile. After eating and drinking, the team gathered again to fight. However, this time the team's position changed. The right side of Night Sorrow's team was now the Walkabout sect. How could the upper echelons of the eastern Xian region place the Scarlet Cloud sect beside Night Sorrow's team? There was already a conflict between them. If they were to be placed together, it would easily lead to more trouble. The following battle was uneventful. 2 or 3 rank 5 dark creatures couldn't cause any danger to Night Sorrow's team. The team behind him didn't suffer any casualties, but it wasn't the same for the other teams. The teams of the other sects often needed to be replenished because there were more members who had died or lost their ability to fight. Not only did Yi Chang's team not die, they didn't even suffer any serious injuries. Medicine Valley's losses weren't high either, mainly because Yi Chang's side had the sky-piercing spear to save their lives. After every battle, Yi Shang would meditate and cultivate. He used the spiritual origin liquid to cultivate his genuine qi. He used the blood essence of ice spirits and soul crystals to cultivate the myriad Tao treasure tome and soul power. As for the improvement of his bloodline talent, Yi Shang did not use the space crystals. Wu Lingfei's advice was to stabilize his foundation first. He would only use the spatial crystals when his foundation was truly stable. He had just activated his fourth innate bloodline energy point. What he needed now was to advance steadily. They fought during the day and cultivated at night. When the members of the Blood Robes Guards wanted to break through, Night Sorrow would arrange for them to rest and stabilize their cultivation bases. Every time Night Sorrow's team fought, Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan would pay close attention to them, not giving the dark spirit corpses a chance to sneak attack them. Night Sorrow was also very careful. After all, it wasn't fun to be sneak attacked by the dark spirit corpses. Even though he had a spirit weapon to protect himself and ensure that he wouldn't die, Night Sorrow still couldn't withstand serious injuries. 20 days passed in the blink of an eye. Night Sorrow's true Qi cultivation base had reached the mid-second level of the Void Inquiry stage. The Myriad Tao scripture was also not far from the 8th level of the Consolidation realm. However, the improvement of his innate bloodline energy and soul power was slow. The improvement of his innate bloodline energy required him to absorb spatial energy. Spatial energy was a rare attribute and its improvement was slow. Even with the help of the soul crystals, the improvement of his soul power was not fast. This made Night Sorrow understand how difficult it was to cultivate soul power. He also knew that this was a normal phenomenon. If soul power was easy to improve, Venerable Realm experts would be as common as dogs on the streets. The atmosphere in Night Sorrow's team was also the best. Every day they had good wine and meat. They ate happily and fought vigorously. This was something that the other teams couldn't compare with. This was something that couldn't be helped. The other teams had casualties and injuries every day. How could they be happy? As time went by, more and more members of the Blood Robes Guards reached the 5th level. More than half of them had reached the 5th level. Lei Bao and Lei Zheng's cultivation base was also very fast. After eating the profound meditation pill, they had successfully advanced to the 8th level of the spirit-severing realm. In addition, Qin Jin's cultivation base was improving very quickly. If it didn't slow down, he would soon reach the 4th level. After returning from another battle, Night Sorrow discovered that the Scarlet Cloud sect's campsite was gloomy and gloomy. The previous battle had reduced their numbers by half. They didn't wait for reinforcements. Instead, they retreated and left Broken Cloud Mountain. If they don't have a bright future, they won't be able to fight. Qin Nan didn't stop them from leaving. They are short-sighted. Not being able to replenish their numbers is a problem. At the same time, the main reason is that they are afraid of suffering losses. The upper echelons of the sect don't know what this battle means, Lan Yuxuan lamented. This kind of battle isn't just for training the disciples. It is also a battle for prestige and luck. Not participating in this kind of battle may seem like they are preserving their strength, but at the same time they are losing their righteousness. They will lose their prestige and reputation. What alliance? Who would dare trust them? Qin Nan snorted coldly. Her eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. Yes, this kind of battle is for the Eastern Xian region. They will more or less be blessed by luck. However, they don't understand, Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. At this moment, the people of the Starry Cloud sect were disappointed. They were disappointed to have such an ally. The departure of the Scarlet Cloud sect meant that the alliance between the two sides had been broken. Now that the Starry Cloud sect was in trouble, the other sects had come to help defend against the dark creatures. As an ally, the Scarlet Cloud sect should have done more. However, the Scarlet Cloud sect had left first. This was treachery. Night Sorrow and the others also looked in the direction of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Useless. Such a sect is one of the 7 super forces. What a disgrace. Lei Bao said as he looked at the Scarlet Cloud sect with disdain. Hehe, what should we do? Should we hold them back and beat them up? Ho Jin looked at Lei Bao and said with a smile. Don't provoke me. If you do, I will kill the people of the Scarlet Cloud sect when I see them. Lei Bao snorted and said. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, let them go. It doesn't matter. I feel that the number of dark creatures is not as high as before. There shouldn't be a lot of reinforcements, Xueling said. Let's train in the actual battle. Now that everyone's cultivation has improved quickly and is solid, this is good. Moreover, everyone has a tacit understanding with each other. This will be good for the battles we may encounter in the future, Knight Sorrow said as he waved the reincarnation spear in his hand. Chapter 451. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Maybe. But that kind of war has nothing to do with us. That's the business of the experts. At most, we'll take care of the small fries or shout a few times. Love go little say, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. You make it sound so easy. You mean we're going to fight and you're just going to watch the show? Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan came over, followed by Lei Hua, who was wearing a mask. If I'm not going to watch the show, are you going to let me charge? Isn't that sending me to my death? Knight Sorrow said. All right. You're right. I heard what you said just now. That's the truth. After you guys killed the dark creatures, the number of dark creatures has decreased greatly. This means that the final battle is not far away. It can happen at any time. Qin Nan said. I can't interfere in the war. After all, that's the Venerable's business. I'm similar to the dark beasts. I'm just a small fry. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Nonsense. You were targeted by the dark spirit corpses today. They just didn't attack because we were closer to you. Qin Nan glared at Knight Sorrow and said. You're being targeted again? Yishan asked in surprise. Yes, so you should be careful tomorrow. Be ready to run at any time. Love Gone Little Say, Chulan Yuxuan said with a smile. All right. Knight Sorrow nodded. All right, as long as you're prepared. They'll definitely attack you in the next 2 days. Lei Hua said. Aren't they still targeting me? Knight Sorrow asked with some surprise. Yes, more than one. Qin Nan nodded. Stay away from me tomorrow. Knight Sorrow said to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. After chatting for a while, Qin Nan and Lei Hua left. Here, take this. Looking at Qin Nan and Lei Hua leaving, Lan Yuxuan took out a protective bracelet and handed it to Knight Sorrow. Protective bracelet. Knight Sorrow asked Lan Yuxuan. Yes, you can keep it as a backup. Don't worry if it's used up or not. Don't let those guys know. They asked me for it, but I said I didn't have it. Lan Yuxuan said. Knight Sorrow understands. Thank you, Inspector Blue. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Lan Yuxuan waved at Knight Sorrow and left Knight Sorrow's tent. Knight Sorrow looked at the bracelet and threw it into his storage ring. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com. Why aren't you wearing it? Yang Lei frowned as she looked at Knight Sorrow. I have the Golden Phoenix soft armor and the Ice Silkworm soft clothes. 2 layers of defense are enough, Knight Sorrow said. No, there are a few dark spiritual corpses staring at you. You should wear the bracelet. You can activate it at any time. It's much safer this way, Sikong Chuyu said as he pulled Knight Sorrow's arm. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and took out the bracelet and put it on his wrist. He knew he wouldn't be able to use it. After cultivating for a night, Knight Sorrow woke up early. While the Bloodstrike guards were roasting meat, he practiced his spear techniques and stretched his muscles. The Qin Zhen brought Knight Sorrow wine and roasted meat. After eating, Knight Sorrow gathered his team. There's a special situation today. You are not allowed to come within 10 meters of me, Knight Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the Bloodstrike guards. That's not a reasonable distance. If something happens, we won't be able to provide reinforcements in time, Ho Jian said, puzzled. Just do as I say. Remember it well. Also, I'll emphasize this once more. As soon as you hear the order to retreat, retreat immediately. No matter what the situation is, set off now, Knight Sorrow said to the group. After giving his instructions, Knight Sorrow led his team to the defensive line. Standing at the defensive line, Knight Sorrow looked ahead. The dark creature's defensive line was still there, and the dark creatures behind were still gathering. If one wasn't observant, they wouldn't have noticed that the dark creatures were running out of strength. As Dai Tianxiang waved his banner, the human cultivators of the eastern Xian region charged forward once more. Knight Sorrow led the Bloodstrike guards and Tianji Tower's team to charge forward. Knight Sorrow, who had a defensive heart, was especially careful. He tried his best not to use his true energy or the myriad Tao scripture's energy. Instead, he relied on his physical strength to fight and maintain his peak condition. Knight Sorrow's physical strength alone was comparable to that of a rank 4 cultivator or a demonic beast. Relying on his physical strength and occasionally using some true energy, Knight Sorrow's killing methods were as sharp as ever. The Blood Strike Guards and Chenji Tower's team obeyed Night Sorrow's orders and maintained a certain distance from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and slowly penetrated the dark creature's ranks. At the same time, he released his soul power to scout the situation ahead. An hour later, Yishang had killed his way into the front 7 or 8 miles. Along the way, Yishang had consumed a drop of origin spirit liquid to maintain his peak condition. Night Sorrow's hair stood on end as he killed a dark demon wolf with a single spear strike. He felt as if he was being watched. "Retreat!" Night Sorrow shouted. Then, his true energy erupted as he activated the Golden Phoenix soft armor. As Night Sorrow covered his body with the Golden Phoenix soft armor, the unique space of a venerable also bound him. Moreover, it wasn't just one but 2 spatial fetters that were applied to Night Sorrow's body. At the same time, 3 dark spiritual corpses appeared and rushed toward Night Sorrow. "Bastard!" With his body and head bound, Night Sorrow couldn't even open his mouth to curse. He could only curse in his heart and activate the myriad Tao scripture's energy to protect himself. At the same time, he activated the Ice Silk soft armor. If it was just one dark spiritual corpse, Night Sorrow wouldn't be so nervous. However, these 3 venerable dark spiritual corpses wanted to kill him. At this time, the venerables of the Eastern Profound region also moved. Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan were at the front. Lei Hua and Hou Yuan also rushed over. Lei Hua and Hou Yuan were originally at the back of the other teams. Now, the situation showed that Night Sorrow's side was the focal point of the battle. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow's body was pushed back dozens of feet. The Golden Phoenix soft armor flashed and blocked the energy blade. However, Night Sorrow couldn't move as the spatial fetters were still in effect. Night Sorrow wanted to run but couldn't. Just as the thought flashed through his mind, an energy fist once again bombarded Night Sorrow's chest. After the Golden Phoenix soft armor flashed twice, it disintegrated and turned into shoulder pads that buckled on Night Sorrow's shoulder. However, the strength of the energy fist was weakened a lot. The remaining energy was blocked by Night Sorrow's Ice Silk soft armor. At this time, another blade light attacked Night Sorrow. The 3 dark spiritual corpses, while imprisoning Night Sorrow, attacked Night Sorrow with all their strength. They wanted to kill Night Sorrow. Look at Chapter 1 of Chapter 1 $. This method was no different from a human's intelligence. It was fine if they didn't move, but when they did, they would kill. Night Sorrow's expression changed. If he took another blade light head-on, he would be seriously injured. At this time, Lan Yuxuan and Qin Nan could only block the dark spiritual corpse's attack path. They couldn't help him deal with the third attack. The main reason was that the dark spiritual corpse's sneak attacks were too fast. At this critical moment, Night Sorrow used his innate skill, Spatial Rend, to attack his side. Chapter 452. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The space bind was broken. Night Sorrow's body flashed a few feet away through the space bind. As soon as Night Sorrow dodged, the 3rd dark spiritual corpse's blade aura whizzed past and cut a gully in the ground a few feet away. Retreat quickly. After being blasted twice in a row, Night Sorrow wasn't too far away from the Blood Strike Guards and the Extreme Heavens Tower team. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xueling and Hou Jian quickly retreated with their people. "Night Sorrow, are you okay?" Xikong Chuyu, who was running with Night Sorrow, asked worriedly. "I'm fine. I'm fully prepared. I'm not injured." Night Sorrow pulled Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei away and turned to watch the battle between the venerables. At this time, a group of venerables was fighting. More than 3 dark spiritual corpses came out from the dark creature camp. One of the dark spiritual corpses that had successfully ambushed the Walkabout sect rushed over and joined the battle. 2 more dark spiritual corpses also rushed out from the dark creature camp and fought with the venerables of the Eastern Shen region. Night Sorrow could not see clearly with the naked eye, so he released his soul power to observe the battle. After observing for a moment, Yang Kai found that Lei Hua was the most ferocious, followed by Lan Yuxuan and Qin Nan. Hou Yuan was fighting the dark spirit corpse from the free and unfettered sect. Dai Tianxiang, Lu Zhenyu, and the Blood Strike Guard commander were comparatively weaker. A big battle is coming. Night Sorrow reached out and touched the Golden Phoenix soft armor on his shoulder. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with the strength of the Golden Phoenix soft armor. When he used all his strength, he could block 2 attacks from the venerables, although he could not completely block the second attack. The battle between the venerables only lasted for half an hour before the dark spirit corpses retreated towards the spatial passageway. This time, the venerables of the Eastern Shen region were smart. They didn't chase after the dark spirit corpses. Instead, they surrounded and killed the dark spirit corpses that Xuanhuan attacked. When the dark spirit corpse transformed into an energy clone to escape, the few sovereigns used spatial imprisonment together and attacked the dark spirit corpse clones in the imprisonment area. In the end, they managed to kill the unlucky dark spirit corpse before the other dark spirit corpses could arrive. Seeing that their companions were killed, there was no point in trying to save them. The other dark spirit corpses retreated back to the spatial tunnel. Lei Hua and the others also flew back to Broken Cloud Mountain's defensive line. They didn't attack the ordinary dark creatures as it was meaningless. DN Update New. The fastest way is from E to H to C. Those who returned all went to Night Sorrow's tent. Is Night Sorrow all right? Lei Hua asked. Governor Qin and Supervisor Lan acted in time. I wasn't injured. Night Sorrow said. That's good. We used you as bait to kill a dark spirit corpse. The effect is pretty good. Qin said. Isn't the risk a little too high? Yang Lei was a little unhappy. After all, Night Sorrow was the bait. Indeed. How about this? Tomorrow you guys start to rest. We'll be a little more shameless. A few sovereigns will guard the defensive line and 2 sovereigns will control the number of dark creatures. Lei Hua thought for a moment and said. That's fine too. Our cultivators have been fighting for many days. They also need to rest. Qin said. Then the few of them left Night Sorrow's tent. However, Lan Yuxuan didn't leave. Your situation has already been recorded by the headquarters. Therefore, I have the responsibility to protect your safety. Why didn't you use the bracelet I gave you? Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I have a soft armor that can withstand 2 waves of attacks. If I can't, I'll activate the bracelet. Night Sorrow said. Your life is important, you know? If you use treasures, you can find more. Don't be so greedy. Lan Yuxuan said. Okay, I know. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're greedy? You don't even use the bracelet when you have one. Lan Yuxuan snorted and left Night Sorrow's tent. She's right. You're a little greedy. Sikong Chiyu said. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and brewed a pot of tea. We don't have much to do with the following tactical arrangements. We can rest for a while. Then let's cultivate peacefully. I'll also speed up my cultivation. Night Sorrow said. The situation that happened today made the upper echelons of Eastern Xian region change their tactics. It was mainly because the Dark Spirit Corpse's methods broke the previous balance. Lan Yuxuan stayed in the command tent every day. The other sovereigns sealed the defensive line. Qin Nan and Xuanhuan often went out to hunt dark creatures and control their numbers. Once the number of dark creatures increased, it would put pressure on the defensive line of Eastern Xian region. In the human camp, other than the sovereigns, the others were recuperating. After a life-and-death battle, their strength would increase rapidly. Night Sorrow cultivated crazily every day. When he was free, he would go to the front of the defensive line to take a look. The defensive line was much more stable than before. The dark creatures no longer pressed towards them. Qin Nan and Xuanhuan's methods were domineering. With a wave of their hands, they could kill many dark creatures. The Dark Spirit Corpse was also no match for the cultivators of Dongxian. Such stable days lasted for more than 20 days. Night Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Tao scripture had improved again. It had reached the 8th level of the consolidation realm. His true qi cultivation was not far from the peak of the 2nd level of the void inquiry stage. Night Sorrow's biggest gain was that the energy points of his innate bloodline had stabilized. He could now proceed to strengthen them. At the same time, it was also the opportunity for Night Sorrow to cultivate his innate bloodline. His cultivation of the myriad Tao scripture had just reached the 8th level of the consolidation realm. It needed to be stabilized. His true qi cultivation was not far from the peak of the 2nd level of the void inquiry stage. He could use the spatial crystals and soul crystals to cultivate. After all, absorbing spatial crystals conflicted with cultivating his true qi and the myriad Tao scripture. After greeting Yang Lei, Ho Jian and Xueling, Night Sorrow began his seclusion. With spatial crystals in one hand and soul crystals in the other, Night Sorrow began his cultivation. The power of the soul needed to be improved and nourished slowly. This could not be rushed. The main reason was that the refining speed was slow. However, Night Sorrow's innate bloodline was domineering. The speed of refining the energy in the spatial crystals was fast. After absorbing a spatial crystal that was half the size of a human head, Night Sorrow finally strengthened the 4th innate bloodline energy point. The completion of the strengthening of his innate bloodline energy made Night Sorrow very happy. The power of the spatial crack that he displayed with 3 innate bloodline energy points was very strong. The power of the spatial crack that he displayed with 4 innate bloodline energy points would be even stronger. Taking the opportunity of catching prey, Night Sorrow displayed the spatial crack. The power of the 4 innate bloodline energy points in Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy points burst forth and the spatial crack was released. A crescent-shaped energy slash that was visible to the naked eye was slashed forward. Black threads were drawn in the air. Next, the energy slash flew forward and the target ancient tree was directly cut in half from the middle. After finishing the first move, Night Sorrow continued to release a few more moves. Without exception, all of his targets were cut in half. Chapter 453. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? Say net, providing you with wonderful novels to read. This time, Night Sorrow used 5 spatial splits in a row before his innate bloodline energy was exhausted. Love gone little say W. Chew. Next, Night Sorrow took care of the white bear and 2 antelopes before returning to the campsite and handing them over to the others. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow took a sip of the tea Yang Lei had brewed and sensed the situation of his innate bloodline energy points. Just like before, the 4 innate bloodline energy points were circulating, strengthening the energy points while charging towards the 5th innate bloodline energy point. I'm very happy. Tell us what you're happy about. Sikong Chuyu sat beside Night Sorrow and asked. Yes, the cultivation of my innate bloodline has improved a little. Night Sorrow explained his situation. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were both happy for Night Sorrow. In the world of cultivators, there were very few people with innate bloodlines. A bloodline with high lethality like Night Sorrow's was especially rare. It was even rarer that Night Sorrow could cultivate it. After drinking with the Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. Night Sorrow's attitude towards cultivation had influenced the Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others. The group was also very active in their cultivation. Currently, the confrontation between the humans and the dark creatures in Broken Cloud Mountain was at a stalemate. The human cultivators couldn't do anything to the dark creatures because they couldn't do anything to the biased spatial channel. Similarly, the dark creatures couldn't cross the blockade set up by the eastern Xian region. Lei Hua and the others had also sent small teams out on missions. However, they only hunted some scattered dark creatures and didn't come into direct contact with them. This was because the dark spiritual corpses were hidden among the dark creatures. The venerables went to control the number of dark creatures, so the dark spiritual corpses couldn't do anything. However, it was very dangerous for cultivators below the venerables to fight the dark creatures. The upper echelons of the eastern Xian region didn't want to suffer such a loss. Yi Shang and the others were also happy to be free. The group would cultivate their combat skills during the day and cultivate their foundations at night. They didn't lack resources in the first place, and with the resources that Yi Shang had given them, it wasn't a problem. Night Sorrow was also happy to see such a scene. His brothers were strong, so they had a strong ability to protect themselves. If not for the dire situation, Yi Shang would have liked to return to the Medicine Valley's Pill Tripod Cliff to cultivate. While he was cultivating Night Sorrow, he was also predicting the war's outcome. The death of the death domain, the death of death, and the death of death, the death, and the death of the death. The other thing was that the rulers of the death domain rushed out and fought head-on, tearing apart the defensive line and breaking through. However, Night Sorrow felt that the death domain had no chance of winning, unless the guy inside was very powerful. However, this possibility was very small. Since he couldn't grasp the direction of the war, Night Sorrow calmly cultivated. It wasn't suitable for him to leave either. In the second month after arriving at Broken Cloud Mountain, Sikong Chuyu's attributes changed. He directly upgraded from the ordinary water attribute to the sky blue water attribute. 0CR Original J version. First, the sky blue water attribute was still the water attribute, and it was the ultimate water attribute. This ultimate attribute couldn't suppress the ordinary attributes, but it also couldn't be suppressed by ordinary high-level attributes, unless one also grasped the ultimate attribute of the high-level attributes. When it came to sparring, the Blood Strike Guards and the Tianji Tower team were no match for Sikong Chuyu. Ho Jin, Yang Lei and the others were no match for him because the intensity of their true chi attacks was different. The sky blue water attribute allowed Sikong Chuyu's true chi to be extremely condensed. In addition, Sikong Chuyu also told Yang Lei and Night Sorrow that after attaining the sky blue water attribute, the true chi energy in his body began to change his physique. After the change was complete, he would have the sky blue body. His body's strength and willpower would increase and he would have a greater affinity with the water attribute. This made Night Sorrow and Yang Lei happy for him. The origin stone of the water attribute was a great help to xianxia in order to cultivate the sky blue water attribute. In addition, xianxia had the potential to cultivate the sky blue water attribute and Wu Lingfei's guidance. Only then did he succeed in taking this step. After xianxia cultivated the sky blue water attribute, she and Yang Lei both advanced to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. They had eaten the Void Extreme pills which raised their cultivation bases to the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage for quite some time. Their cultivation bases had stabilized. Naturally, breaking through was a matter of course. At this moment, Night Sorrow had also reached the peak of the 2nd level of the Void Inquiry stage. However, he was not in a hurry to advance. While cultivating his soul power and the energy of the myriad Tao text, he was also consolidating his true Qi cultivation base. Night Sorrow also let Tianyu and the Silver Fox out to play every day. After all the cultivators in the eastern profound region knew that they were Night Sorrow's demonic beasts. If anyone was foolish enough to touch these 2 demonic beasts, Night Sorrow would not let them off, let alone the consequences. Under Night Sorrow's constant feeding of the life spirit liquid, Tianyu had already reached the peak of the spirit-severing realm while the Silver Fox had reached the peak of the core formation realm. Both of them were on the verge of advancing. According to the situation of their advancement in the past, Night Sorrow knew that they did not know how long it would take for them to consolidate their strength. Therefore he was not in a hurry. When the time comes, they would naturally advance. The situation had stabilized. However, there were still people coming to the eastern profound region one after another. In the Medicine Valley, all of Night Sorrow's senior martial brothers except for Nan Nan and Aoi had arrived at Broken Cloud Mountain. Nan Nan had to stay in Golden Flame City. As for Aoi, she was not willing to participate in the hunting operation unless she had no other choice. Everyone in the Medicine Valley knew that. Therefore no one would force her to do so. Because of her personality, she did not compete with the world. Instead, she had gained more respect. Night Sorrow would drink with his senior martial brothers every day when he had nothing to do. It had been a long time since he had last chatted with them. Time slipped away bit by bit. Some people felt a little annoyed staying in the same place but not Night Sorrow. When he felt that he had more or less settled down, Night Sorrow greeted Yang Lei and xianxia and went into seclusion to break through to the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. After spending a night, Night Sorrow condensed his true Qi halo. Next, he stabilized his cultivation base. While stabilizing his cultivation base, Night Sorrow took out the blood essences of ice spirits and soul crystals to assist him in his cultivation. While stabilizing his true Qi, he continued to cultivate the myriad Tao scripture and soul power. This cultivation process lasted for a few days. When the blood essences of ice spirits and soul crystals were all used up, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. After stretching his body, Night Sorrow walked out of the tent. xianxia and Yang Lei were chatting outside the tent while making tea. "You're out." Yang Lei and Night Sorrow greeted each other. "Thank you for guarding the place for me." Night Sorrow sat down on the wooden stool beside Yang Lei. "You don't have to be so courteous with us. Drink some water." xianxia poured a cup of water for Night Sorrow and said. Looking at the blood-robed guards, Ho Jian and the others cultivating their combat techniques, Night Sorrow felt very gratified because his brothers were all very motivated. "Sure-san, your cultivation base is going to catch up to us soon. Ninth senior sister has been cultivating for a much longer time than you." Yang Lei turned her head to look at Night Sorrow and said, "Maybe it's because of my good fortune that I have ample resources." Night Sorrow said with a smile. Chapter 454. Genius remembers love in 1 second divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. "I don't think I have any talent," Night Sorrow said after looking at himself. "Do you think you can see anything just by looking at it?" "Talent and aptitude are all unearthed," xianxia said with a smile. "If it's about talent and bloodline, I can be sure of that. But it's hard to make a conclusion about talent," Night Sorrow said. "Everyone's talent for cultivation is different. The speed at which they absorb energy, the width and narrowness of their veins, their compatibility with spiritual energy, and so on. If you don't have talent, it's not reasonable to use hard work and abundant resources to explain your rapid improvement in cultivation," Yang Lei said. This book is first published for free. No subscription required. Group number 332448350. Only cool craftsman readers. Yes. Besides, you were born in the Night Moon Dynasty. That's a family of cultivators. Moreover, it's an outstanding family of cultivators. How can your talent be bad? xianxia said with a smile. Maybe. But I think that cultivators still need perseverance. This is more important than anything else, Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're right. To stabilize your cultivation, you should eat the void pill and improve your cultivation, Yang said. Night Sorrow nodded. Then he strolled around the campsite and played with Tianyu and Silver Fox. Love go little say Quinn. Night Sorrow's eyes. Tianyu and Silver Fox were not monsters. They were partners who could live and die together. Tianyu aside, Silver Fox had been fighting beside Night Sorrow in the previous battle. It had even been stabbed in the back when Night Sorrow blocked the attack of the dark zombie. It didn't know that Night Sorrow could block it. It only felt that Night Sorrow was dangerous, so it blocked the attack without hesitation. After playing with Tianyu and Silver Fox for a while and chatting with Qin Zhen, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. Then he took out the Ice Spirit Blood Essence and Soul Crystals and began cultivating. Night Sorrow didn't have much Ice Spirit Blood Essence left. He only had 3 pieces left, including the ones he had. Night Sorrow felt that the Ice Spirit Blood Essence might not be enough to support his cultivation to the Dao Querying Realm, but it wouldn't be too far off. He was now in the middle stage of the 8th level of the Consolidation Realm. At most, he would need half a level of resources. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with the cultivation progress of the Myriad Tao Treasured Book. The main reason was that the Ice Spirit Blood Essence had a good effect. It contained sufficient blood qi and belonged to the same source of energy. Therefore, whether it was absorbing or refining, the speed was very fast. Otherwise, he would be left far behind by his true qi cultivation. After all, Night Sorrow ate 2 elixirs at every major stage of his true qi cultivation. However, the Myriad Tao Treasured Book didn't have such elixirs. If it weren't for the Ice Spirit Blood Essence's effect, the gap between his true qi and the Myriad Tao Treasured Book would be widened. Night Sorrow cultivated, and so did the 2 girls. The Bloodstrike Guard Ho Jian and the others. Ho Jian, Ho Qingjie, Nanliue, Lei Bao, Lei Zheng, and the other sect seniors and juniors were all there. However, they weren't willing to go to the sect. They were willing to stay with Night Sorrow and the brothers of the Bloodstrike Guard. After another cultivation session, Night Sorrow went to the Medicine Valley area. As the Great Elder was here, Night Sorrow had to pay his respects. After paying his respects to the Great Elder, Night Sorrow asked about the Void Fiendish Space's passageway. You can't enter anymore. For some reason, the energy coming from the passageway conflicted with the energy of our world. The passageway has collapsed, the Great Elder said. Upon hearing this news, Night Sorrow felt a little more at ease. With the Void Fate Jewel, Night Sorrow treated the Void Fiendish Space like his own backyard. When others could enter, he felt a little conflicted. Now that he heard that others couldn't enter, he felt a little more at ease. After returning to his own camp, Night Sorrow asked Ho Jian and Lei Bao to go back to their respective sects to confirm the news. The news that Ho Jian and Lei Bao brought back proved that the Void Fiendish Space was sealed. All the known passageways had collapsed and they had entered. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about whether he could enter or not. As long as he could completely refine the Void Fate Jewel, he could enter the Void Fiendish Space whenever he wanted. Spatial barriers wouldn't be a problem. After that, Night Sorrow told Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu about the Void Fiendish Space. That's great. As long as you can control the Void Fate Jewel, the Void Fiendish Space will be your backyard. You'll be invincible in there. When the time comes, we'll set up our home there, Yang Lei said excitedly. I don't know how long it'll take. I've been using my soul power to nourish it. I believe that one day I'll succeed, Night Sorrow said with a nod. Night Sorrow, your biggest strength is your good attitude. You can face anything with a calm heart. You must always maintain this attitude, Sikong Chiyu said. Let's not talk about me. How are you 2 doing? Do you have enough resources? Alright. Here are 2 storage rings. Night Sorrow took out Feng Chen and Lushan Night storage rings and gave one each to Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu. Night Sorrow had already transferred all his resources into the Dark Spirit Saint storage ring. You have a storage ring on your hand? Where did you get so many? Yang Lei asked curiously. Night Sorrow didn't mention that he had met the Dark Spirit Saint and Life Saintess in the Death Space. Take a look. I think the storage space in these 2 storage rings is bigger than normal. They're better than the ones you're using now, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had already removed the ownership of the storage rings. Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu quickly completed the process. It's really big. It's 3 times bigger than mine, Yang Lei said. Mine too. Sikong Chiyu nodded. That's good. A bigger space means more resources can be stored. It's more convenient, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then the storage ring on your hand must be of a higher grade? Sikong Chiyu looked at Night Sorrow's ring and asked. I got it by accident. The space is indeed bigger. Yishan was most satisfied with the space in these two storage rings. How big is bigger? Sikong Chiyu asked curiously. Tell the truth. Night Sorrow asked as he touched the storage ring. Translator. Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio, are you saying that you're going to lie to us? Yang Lei reached out to grab Night Sorrow's ear. Yang Lei's hand grabbed Night Sorrow's ear. However, Night Sorrow's ear emitted energy and bounced Yang Lei's hand away. Why would I lie to you? This storage ring is more than 10 times bigger than the one I gave you. It's as empty as a warehouse, Night Sorrow said. You win. You must have something you didn't tell us. However, we won't force you. You must have your reasons for doing this. Sikong Chiyu looked at Night Sorrow and nodded slightly. I'll tell you when it's appropriate. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it wasn't important whether he told them or not. The ancient investiture of the gods involved too many things. If he told them, it might increase their knowledge, but it would also bring some pressure. Chapter 455. A genius remembers love in 1 second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chiyu and then at Yang Lei. It's nothing. I'll tell you about it. Night Sorrow then told him about his encounter with the Dark Spirit Saint and the Life Saintess. How shameless. You still want to possess my body? Yang Lei cursed. You can't say that she's shameless. That's just the way cultivators do things. It's the law of the jungle. She's capable of possessing someone's body, but she's just unlucky. Night Sorrow said. Sikong Chiyu said with a smile. Luck? She's an old woman who's about to fall. If she wants to fight to the death with a rising star like you, the heavens won't be on her side. Of course, this is only in terms of luck. If it were anyone else, she would just crush them with her soul and possess them. This is the probability. 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million. She's really unlucky. After worrying for Night Sorrow, Yang Lei's heart was filled with emotions. After all, it wasn't impossible for someone to have a heavenly fate jewel to protect their deity ocean, but the chances were extremely low. This is her bad luck to have met me. If she had met someone else, she would have definitely succeeded. If she had succeeded in taking over someone else's body, as long as she hides for a period of time, it would definitely be a disaster when she comes out. Night Sorrow sighed in his heart, because if the Life Saintess succeeded in taking over someone else's body, it would be a serious problem. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com. The Dark Spirit Saint could also possess someone, but he didn't, so he had a chance to reincarnate. He followed the heavens, but the Life Saintess went against the heavens, so she dug her own grave. Sikong Chiyu, like Night Sorrow, respected the Dark Spirit Saint. I've always felt that there's something wrong with the investiture of the gods that we don't know about. Perhaps there's some big secret hidden. For example, the Dark Spirit Saint is from our 9 regions world, but I don't understand what's going on with the Life Saintess. In addition, the Dark Spirit Saint said that it was a group of cultivators who were unwilling to be oppressed. Who was oppressing them? Night Sorrow explained his doubts. Since he had already told them about the death space, Night Sorrow didn't hide anything. Besides, he could see that it didn't affect the 2 girls. Don't worry about it. We just need to live well. What's the matter? If there's something, there's a venerable above. Yang Lei said indifferently. Ninth senior sister's heart is so big, just like your chest. Sikong Chiyu stretched out her hand and patted Yang Lei's chest. What's wrong? No, Chiyu, are you jealous? Yang Lei smiled and looked at Sikong Chiyu with a strange gaze. What am I jealous of? 13. Do you think I need to be jealous? Sikong Chiyu puffed out his chest and looked at Night Sorrow. Each has their own merits. What's the difference? After saying that each has their own merits, Night Sorrow was a bit confused. After becoming women, Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu were different from before. Each has their own merits. 13. You still have good taste. Not bad. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said, Ninth senior sister, don't hit me like that. I'm embarrassed and you guys don't feel comfortable looking at me, right? Night Sorrow said with some embarrassment. Comfortable. Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu both nodded. This made Night Sorrow smile. Because of harmony in the family. You're still very happy. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. Very happy. Having you two, I'm very happy. I like this feeling very much. Night Sorrow stretched out his hands and said as he held the 2 girls' hands. The 2 girls nodded. Their words just now were to let Night Sorrow relax. After chatting for a while, the 3 of them began to meditate and cultivate. After cultivating for many years in the past, Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu's passion for cultivation had already faded. However, their interest in cultivation had been reignited recently. Because of the unlimited resources, their cultivation had improved quickly. It was completely different from before, when their cultivation had not improved significantly. After cultivating for half a day and one night, Night Sorrow woke up early to cultivate his spear techniques. "You're in good shape." Gong Xian came over and directly threw a storage belt to Night Sorrow. "Eldest senior brother, come and sit inside." Night Sorrow brought Gong Xian into the tent. Night Sorrow was especially respectful towards Gong Xian, his eldest senior brother. "Your sixth senior sister asked the first elder to bring it to you. The first elder has been busy with the battle of the Medicine Valley disciples and actually forgot about it. He only remembered it today." Gong Xian said with a smile. "The sixth senior sister still remembers me." Night Sorrow smiled and kept the storage belt. "Your cultivation speed is simply indescribable. Eldest senior brother is also stimulated by you." Gong Xian sized up Night Sorrow and said. Currently, Gong Xian was also at the peak of the third level of the Void Inquiry stage. He felt that his cultivation speed was very fast. However, Night Sorrow and the other two had already caught up with him. "Eldest senior brother, you must be joking. Is there any problem in the Medicine Valley?" Night Sorrow asked. "Very good. There were some injuries some time ago. Only 2 people lost their lives. It's much better than the other sections." Gong Xian nodded at Night Sorrow. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Gong Xian went back. Recently, he had been stabilizing his cultivation and was preparing to break through to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Night Sorrow opened his storage belt and saw some wine, a few stacks of robes and a few stacks of silk skirts. After taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow kept the wine and the robes into his storage ring. Then he passed the silk skirts to Yang Lei. "Shisan, I miss sixth senior sister a little," Yang Lei said while wiping the corners of her eyes. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Ninth senior sister, we'll go back after we're done with the things we have on hand. Night Sorrow patted Yang Lei's shoulder and said. "All right. These are for you." Yang Lei gave one of the stacks to Xikong and 2 stacks of silk skirts. Alway prepared them for the 3 of them. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went out of the tent and played with Tianyu and the silver fox. After being intimate with Night Sorrow for a while, Tianyu's body trembled. Then he went to Night Sorrow's tent and lay down beside it without moving. "Advancement is going to advance." Night Sorrow looked at Tianyu, who was lying down in surprise. "Is trying to break through to the 5th level. Its growth speed is really shocking. It's as heaven-defying as Shisan." Yang Lei sighed with emotion because there was no 5th level mount in the entire Medicine Valley. The dark feathered eagle was the first one. The current structure of the Medicine Valley had expanded. If it was in the past, they would definitely pay attention to the appearance of a 5th level demonic beast with self-awareness. Night Sorrow went to Tianyu's side and poured 2 drops of origin spiritual fluid into the gap between Tianyu's beak. He was worried about Tianyu, so he wanted to do everything he could for Tianyu. Demonic beasts have feelings when they advance. If we're not sure, they won't advance. We just have to guard Tianyu. Xikong said to Night Sorrow. She could feel that Night Sorrow's emotions were fluctuating. Night Sorrow nodded and sat down cross-legged with Yang Lei and Xikong to guard Tianyu. Soon after, the members of the Blood Strike Guard joined them. Night Sorrow is heaven-defying. Even his mount is so abnormal, Qin Nan said from afar. Chapter 456. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by Shao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Logically speaking, this demonic beast shouldn't have appeared because no such beast has ever appeared in the eastern Xian region. How did it come about? Qin Nan had doubts in his heart. There is one possibility. An ancient beast egg. In other words, it could be a newly unearthed ancient beast egg. It was originally in some alternate space or spatial crack. Due to the change in the environment, it appeared, Lei Hua said. That's possible. The green rock and the black yuan are both ancient beasts. Both bloodlines are heaven-defying, let alone 2. Let's see what this guy will become after he evolves. Lan Yuxuan was also looking forward to Tianyu's evolution. The most nervous person was Night Sorrow. His gaze was fixed on Tianyu. He was even more nervous than his own evolution. He knew what was going on, but he didn't know what was going on with Tianyu's evolution. Time slipped away bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Tianyu's evolution was relatively slow. However, the flow of energy on his body was getting stronger and stronger. It could even be said that it was rushing in all directions. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, Xikong the Blood Strike Guards and Ho Jian who were guarding him, had to put some distance between them. Suddenly the energy on Tianyu's body surged. Green energy surged and churned violently. The scene was very shocking. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com. At this moment, the sky darkened, and a dark cloud appeared in the sky without anyone noticing. 13 This is bad. It's a lightning tribulation. Yang Lei's expression changed. Why would there be a lightning tribulation? Knight Sorrow was a little anxious. He was very worried about Tianyu. When a heaven-defying demonic beast evolves, there will be a heavenly Tao test. When a flood dragon evolves into a dragon, there will be a lightning tribulation. When a human venerable becomes a saint, there will also be a lightning tribulation, Sikong Chuyu said as he looked at the dark cloud in the sky. Don't worry, we have to believe in Tianyu. He can do it. Yang Lei said as she grabbed Knight Sorrow's shoulder. At this moment, Tianyu's aura changed again. Gray energy appeared within the green energy. The second attribute, space attribute. This is an advanced attribute, Sikong Chuyu said in surprise. At this moment, Lan Yushuan's people were also extremely shocked. A demonic beast that was in the process of evolving had activated a high-level attribute. Such a thing was almost unheard of, triggering a lightning tribulation and the appearance of a high-grade elemental attribute. This demonic beast is going to overturn the heavens, Qin Nan said. Tianyu's curled-up body stretched out, and he let out a long roar towards the sky. Following that, a bright light burst out from his body, and his aura rose from the peak of the Type 4 realm to the Type 5 realm. Then it continued to rise, Type 5 Level 1, Type 5 Level 2. At this moment, there was a thunderclap in the sky, and a purple lightning bolt struck down at Tianyu. At this time, Tianyu stood up, and the energy in his body turned into a shadow that was similar to him and rushed into the sky. Asterisk bang asterisk with a loud explosion, Tianyu's shadow collided with the lightning bolt. Then they canceled each other out. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. After rolling for a while, they dispersed and the sky became clear again. After letting out another roar and taking a glance at Knight Sorrow, Tianyu lay down and stopped moving. He was stabilizing his cultivation base. Originally, he could still improve his cultivation base. However, he was interrupted by the lightning tribulation and could only advance to the second level of the void inquiry stage. He's still underage? Yang Lei's eyes stared straight at Tianyu. Yes. The energy is still flowing to every part of his body. Sikong Chuyu nodded. Knight Sorrow did not pay attention to that. What he was concerned about was Tianyu's safety. The energy in Tianyu's body flowed towards his beak and claws while he was lying on the ground. Those were his attacking parts during battles. Every time he advanced, they would be strengthened. Just as Knight Sorrow was inspecting his body, a spiritual wave appeared in his mind, comforting Knight Sorrow and telling him to be at ease. After being stunned for a while, Knight Sorrow knew that it was Tianyu's spiritual wave. It was telling him to be at ease. 13. This Tianyu's achievement isn't just at the peak of the 5th rank. He's still underage. Yang Lei patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder and said, as long as he's safe and sound, that's more important than anything else. After confirming that Tianyu was fine, Knight Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. Lan Yushuan and the others also returned to the tent. Why update? 0 new MT is the fastest unspecified currency on. Its master is heaven-defying and its mount is also horny. It's already at the 5th rank but it's still underage. Won't it become a venerable realm demonic beast in the future? It's even a high-level one. Ho Yuan said with some emotion. In the 9 regions and 18 states, there are many venerable realm demonic beasts. However, they've all gone through countless years of cultivation after reaching adulthood. However, Knight Sorrow's mount directly charged all the way to the 5th rank. At the same time, it still retains its potential. When it enters the venerable realm in the future, it'll also be one of the best in the venerable realm, Lan Yushuan said. It's really quite impressive. Today's matter will affect the dark creatures. We should be careful and not be ambushed by them, Leihor reminded everyone. Knight Sorrow held a wine jar and stood not far from Tianyu. He looked at Tianyu while drinking. The tension in his heart finally relaxed. You should also rest for a while. Tianyu's side is fine, Sikong Chuyu said as he came to Knight Sorrow's side. Alright, I'll go cultivate too. Knight Sorrow finished the wine jar in one gulp. After returning to the tent, Knight Sorrow took out the void elixir and ate it. Then he took the ice spirit blood essence and the spirit crystal and started cultivating. Knight Sorrow cultivated quietly. However, the commotion caused by Tianyu's breakthrough was still ongoing. The disciples of the other sects wanted to take a closer look at Tianyu, but they were all blocked by the blood strike guards. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were still the same. They cultivated like Night Sorrow every night and cultivated their combat skills during the day. The situation on Broken Cloud Mountain was stable for human cultivators below the Venerable realm. However, Venerables went out to battle every day. Even if the dark creatures retreated, they would send Venerables to kill them and control the number of dark creatures. Otherwise, when the dark creatures accumulate to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands and charge at them, the human defense line would not be able to withstand it. Night Sorrow cultivated for 5 days and directly raised his true chi cultivation to the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. His Myriad Dao treasure tome had also reached the peak of the 8th level of the Consolidation realm. However, the Ice Spirit blood essence in his hand had also turned into a useless rock. After stretching his body, Night Sorrow walked out of the tent. Night Sorrow was not prepared when he walked out of the tent. He was almost knocked down by Xianxia, who rubbed his big head against him. "You grow really fast." Night Sorrow rubbed Xianxu's head while feeling a little emotional. It was also because Xianxia lowered his head that Night Sorrow could touch his head. Otherwise, he would not have been able to reach it. After breaking through to the 5th level, Xianxu's height was about 1.5 xiang tall. His body was about 1.5 xiang in diameter and 10 xiang in length. His body was full of streamlined beauty. What made Xianxia different from other flying demonic beasts was his 2 legs and sharp claws. Other flying demonic beasts had longer claws, but their legs were very bony and thin. Chapter 457. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Xianxu's head bumped into Night Sorrow. At the same time, Night Sorrow's mind also sent out waves of energy. Night Sorrow easily understood that Xianxia wanted him to get on his back. Night Sorrow called out to Silver Fox and then jumped onto Xianxu's back. Silver Fox's speed was also very fast. As soon as Night Sorrow landed on Xianxu's back, Silver Fox also pounced at Night Sorrow's feet. Xianxu's wings flapped and rose into the sky. A protective energy shield appeared on his body. When the protective energy shield covered Night Sorrow and Silver Fox, Xianxu's body rushed out. Night Sorrow did not find any traces of flying. It was as if he was traveling through space. While Night Sorrow was surprised, Xianxia flew rapidly again. Night Sorrow confirmed that Xianxu's flight did have a blank period. In other words, when he was flying at high speed, he was traveling through space without a trace. At this time, Night Sorrow's mind sent out waves of energy. Although it was not a language, the message was very clear. Xianxia told Night Sorrow that this was a unique skill he learned after reaching rank 5. It was a skill that used space energy to perform space travel. However, it consumed a lot of energy and could not be used for a long time. Space energy. It was also a natural ability. Space travel was Xianxu's natural ability. After flying in the sky for a while and catching a giant python, Xianxia brought Night Sorrow and Silver Fox back to the camp. After landing, Xianxia crushed the giant python's head with his claws. Then, with a sharp peck, he cut open the giant python's stomach and ate the giant python's gallbladder. To think that a Tier 4 giant python couldn't even put up the slightest bit of resistance. Xianxu's combat prowess is truly impressive, Ho Jian lamented. Xianxia has the bloodline of the Azure Rock. After he advanced, the power of his bloodline is very obvious. He has a natural suppression against serpent beasts. Plus, there is a gap between their cultivation levels. So there is no point in fighting, Night Sorrow said. Next, Ho Jian and the others cleaned up the 2,000 to 3,000 caddies python and roasted it over the fire. Night Sorrow returned to the tent after helping Xianxia comb the feathers on his neck. At this time, Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu were practicing carving. They didn't have the ability to increase their soul power like Night Sorrow, so they could only rely on sculpting to increase their soul power. You're back. Did you have fun playing with Xianxia? Yang Lei's jade-like hands trembled as she finished the carving in her hands. Xianxia is too powerful. He actually has the ability to travel through space. Although the distance isn't very far, this move is very heaven-defying, Night Sorrow said as he brewed a pot of tea. Xianxia has the space attribute. In addition to his strong combat prowess, it is very difficult to defeat him unless one is a venerable. With just his speed, he is invincible. Xikong Chuyu also finished carving the jade statue in his hands. Night Sorrow looked at the carvings in Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu's hands and said, "Give these 2 to me." "No. I believe that I will carve a better one. I will carve the most perfect one for you." Yang Lei shook her head and said, "I think so too." Xikong Chuyu nodded, expressing the same thoughts as Yang Lei. Then Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu exchanged carvings. Almost at the same time, they directly shattered the carvings into pieces. "What are you two doing?" Night Sorrow looked at the 2 girls with some surprise. "What's the point of keeping them? If word gets out, will you be happy? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Not happy. I just feel that it's a pity, Night Sorrow said. At the same time he understood what the two girls meant. Exchanging carvings and destroying them was a sign of respect. After all, destroying someone else's carvings was disrespectful. But there was no point in keeping them. After all, as one's carving skills improved, the carvings would also become better. The three of them drank tea and chatted. Night Sorrow had just finished his cultivation and needed to relax. Night Sorrow, although your tea brewing skills are not as good as Chu Yu's, it's still an improvement. Yang Lei said. Hehe, it's fine as long as there's something to drink. Why are you so picky? Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. You can only improve if I'm strict with you. Isn't that right? Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said. Yes, Ninth Senior Sister, you win. Night Sorrow poured himself a cup of tea and said with a smile. Brewing tea is also a kind of knowledge. It can calm the heart and cultivate one's character. It can be considered a kind of cultivation of the mind. Sikong Chiyu said. I understand. I'll be the tea master for the two of you in the future. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Mosin B6, Section J, the current 13 has changed a lot. I clearly remember the first time I saw him. He was just a child. He looked a little weak and his frown made one's heart ache. When I had the thought of liking him, I felt guilty. Yang Lei spoke of her feelings in a low voice. Yes, who would look at a child like Night Sorrow now? Yi Shang is already a young talent whose name shakes a region, Sikong Chiyu said. Chiyu, I originally planned to go to the Qingtian region to find you after I reached the 4th level. Later, when you came to the Eastern Xian region, I decided to go to the Qingtian region Sikong clan to propose marriage when I reached the 5th level. However, plans can never keep up with changes. Night Sorrow said apologetically. What's the difference? Didn't you bully me? Sikong Chiyu said with a red face. Of course there's a difference. I want to propose marriage openly. Chapter 458. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Why do you think so? Yang Lei stood up in surprise. She knew that Night Sorrow never lied. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.ichuxs.com. The Holy Cauldron scripture of our Medicine Valley was found by me from there. My Myriad Tao treasure book was also obtained from there. Do you understand? Yi Shang asked. I know a little about Taichuan. Tell me, what do you know? Sikong Chiyu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow told him what he had encountered. That's not right. According to the records in the Medicine Valley has a history of 7,000 years. The War of the Gods happened 10,000 years ago, not to mention the ancient battlefield that was much older than the War of the Gods. It doesn't match at all, Yang Lei said, shaking her head. Ninth Senior Sister, the Medicine Valley has a history of 7,000 years, but it might not be only 7,000 years. Something might have happened and the inheritance might have been broken. Feng Chen claimed to be an elder of the Medicine Valley, so it can't be wrong. Love Gon Xiao say W, Chusikong Chiyu said. There's another possibility, which is that there was a problem with Taichuan, and the ancestors of the Medicine Valley happened to discover it and then went to guard it. It's impossible to calculate the time. Could be 6,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. Who knows? Yi Shang said. That's possible. Yang Lei nodded. She felt that Night Sorrow's analysis was reasonable. I suspect that Tianyu came from Taichuan. Otherwise, where would such a strange beast with an ancient bloodline come from? Night Sorrow speculated. Whatever you say is possible. We don't know what the hell the nether beast is, but it doesn't matter. If there was a problem, it would have happened long ago. We don't need to worry about it, Sikong Chiyu said. Then let's not think about it. Let's focus on the problem at hand. Night Sorrow knew that he was worrying for nothing. Taichuan is an ancient battlefield, one that existed even before the ancient war of investiture of the gods. There's nothing to think about. As for the matter at hand, let the Venerable One think about it. We just have to work hard and cultivate, Sikong Chiyu said. First LD hair W, that's true. We think too highly of ourselves. Some things have nothing to do with us, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. After chatting for a while, Yi Shang went to the command tent and greeted a few of the upper echelons of the Eastern Xian region. When they saw Night Sorrow, Lei Hua and the others were very polite. First of all, Night Sorrow's cultivation wasn't low. If this continued, he would rise very quickly. Secondly, there was the problem of identity and status. In the eyes of Lei Hua, Ho Yuan and Lan Yuxuan, Night Sorrow had to be treated as an equal. This was because once Night Sorrow officially became a celestial emissary of the Tianji Tower, his status would surpass theirs. As for the people of the City Lord Mansion, they weren't stupid either. They all knew how Wu Lingfei treated Night Sorrow. After coming out of the command tent, Night Sorrow went to the Medicine Valley and chatted with the Great Elder, Gong Xian, and the others for a while before returning to the tent. "You're back." Yang Lei nodded at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Senior Lei and the others said that it's fine to maintain the current situation. Another thing is that the City Lord Mansion destroyed one of the Jianghu family's outposts. They hid it well, but if the City Lord Mansion wants to investigate, they won't be able to hide it. "Ai go shall say," Night Sorrow said. The Jianghu family has been developing very fast in recent years. They're quite powerful. If they want to expand their influence, they have to expand to other regions, Sikong Chiyu said. "How powerful is the Jianghu family?" Night Sorrow asked curiously. "They're the most powerful family in the Qingtian region, which is ranked relatively high among the 9 regions. In other words, the 7 superpowers of the Eastern Shen region may not be a match for the Jianghu family even if they join forces." Sikong Chiyu thought for a while and explained the situation of the Jianghu family. "They're so powerful," Night Sorrow said in surprise. "They're an old family that has been around for countless years. They have a deep foundation and many venerables. Therefore, the forces of the Eastern Shen region can't compare to them." Sikong Chiyu introduced the Jianghu family to Night Sorrow and Yang Lei. "No matter how powerful they are, I won't let them go." Night Sorrow clenched her fists and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. I'm a little annoyed," Yang Lei said. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to chat and drink with Ho Jian and the others. Night Sorrow relaxed for 2 days. He had just taken the Void Elixir and improved his cultivation, so he needed to relax. The way to relax was to drink tea, drink wine, and walk around casually. This was not a suitable place for Night Sorrow to be intimate with the 2 girls. The soul power of Venerables was very strong. It enveloped the entire campsite. Nothing that happened in the campsite could escape their detection. Night Sorrow naturally didn't dare to do anything overboard. After resting and relaxing, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. While he stabilized his true chi cultivation, he cultivated the myriad Dao's treasured tome and increased his soul power. At the same time, he cultivated his innate bloodline power. On this day, Night Sorrow was just cultivating when he was interrupted by a muffled sound. At this time, a great battle broke out in the sky above the defensive line. It was a full-scale battle between the Dark Spirit Corpses. The battle was very intense. The Dark Spirit Corps commander in the lead was very strong. Lei Hua couldn't handle it alone. Then Lan Yuxuan took action. The 2 of them attacked together and stabilized the situation. However, they were still at a disadvantage. "Night Sorrow, what's going on? Why are there so many Dark Spirit Corpses?" Yang Lei looked at the sky with some astonishment. "A very strong Dark Spirit Corps has appeared. It should be the Dark Spirit Corps commander. Its single combat power has already surpassed the strongest person on our side." Night Sorrow, whose soul power enveloped the battlefield, discovered the problem. At this time, the strongest person on the battlefield wasn't Lei Hua, but the Dark Spirit Corps wearing black armor. "Ho Jian, Xueling, come here." Night Sorrow shouted at Ho Jian and Xueling, "Captain." Ho Jian and Xueling hurried over. "This is serious. You guys lead the team well. 9th Senior Sister, lend me the black-feathered eagle. I will use the 2 mounts alternately. Use the fastest speed to report back." Night Sorrow gave some instructions and shouted at Yang Lei. Yang Lei nodded and threw the beast-taming crystal to Night Sorrow. "Remember, safety first. If our sovereigns can't handle it, don't say anything else. Just retreat." Night Sorrow flashed onto Tianyu's back and rode Tianyu towards Star Cloud City. Night Sorrow could activate the Phantom Stone Pearl that Wu Lingfei gave him, but he didn't think it was that bad. As long as Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan didn't lose, the dark creatures wouldn't be able to attack. Night Sorrow controlled Tianyu and flew quickly towards Star Cloud City. After flying for an hour, Yi Shan found that he and Tianyu had been imprisoned. Not far in front of him was Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a white robe and a light veil and wearing a golden mask. "Auntie Fei, I was just about to inform you," Night Sorrow said. "Vice Palace Master Lei has informed Auntie Fei to keep the mounts." "Let's go now," Wu Lingfei said. Wu Lingfei said. She waved her arm and energy wrapped around Night Sorrow, who had put away his mount, and they flew towards Broken Cloud Mountain. "Auntie Fei, that guy is very strong. Senior Lei and Supervisor Lan can't get the upper hand," Night Sorrow said worriedly. "As long as they don't go back, Auntie Fei will kill them." Wu Lingfei said coldly. Tianyu had been flying at top speed for an hour, but Wu Lingfei had covered the distance in just a moment. Chapter 459. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. In the Battle of the Venerables, the Eastern Xian region's side was completely at a disadvantage. The main reason was that the strongest Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan were completely suppressed by the strongest Dark Spirit Corps commander. It wouldn't be long before they were defeated. How audacious. Since you've come to attack, then die. Lei Hua, Lan Yuxuan, you two go somewhere else. Don't let them retreat. After speaking, Wu Lingfei's body flashed and appeared above the head of the Dark Spirit Corps commander that Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan were attacking. Then she sent out a palm strike. Wu Lingfei's palm strike didn't cause as much of an explosion as Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan's attacks. However, the area covered by her jade-like hand had turned into a world of ice. This Dark Spirit Corps wearing black armor was also wrapped in ice. Could be said that it was directly frozen. Crack. The Dark Spirit Corps let out a low roar and the ice was broken. However, Wu Lingfei's second palm came and froze it again. Wu Lingfei continued to attack, and the Dark Spirit Corps commander was constantly frozen and shaken, its aura plummeting. Die. After freezing the Dark Spirit Corps commander once again, Wu Lingfei's body flickered, and she arrived in front of the ice block where the Dark Spirit Corps commander was sealed, and pressed out with her palm again. Wu Lingfei's palm was no longer filled with white cold qi. Instead, it was filled with light green energy that was brimming with vitality. Love Gon Little Say could the energy of this palm hit the Dark Spiritual Corps commander that had just shaken off the ice seal. There was no sound. The Dark Spirit Zombie commander instantly disintegrated. Its armor didn't shatter and neither did its blade. However, its body shattered into bits and pieces. What kind of attack is this? Yang Lei, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, asked in surprise. Life energy attacks just happened to counter the death attribute. Night Sorrow's eyes were also filled with shock. Wu Ling concubine was unbelievably strong. The Dark Spirit Corps that had suppressed Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan for half a day was killed in a few palms. After killing this Dark Spirit Corps commander, Wu Lingfei's body flashed as she charged towards another Dark Spirit Corps. She continued to freeze it and then killed it with a palm strike. After the two Dark Spirit Corpses were killed, the other Dark Spirit Corpses used their own methods to escape. However, there was another unlucky Dark Spirit Corpse that was caught up by Wu Lingfei after killing the second Dark Spirit Corpse. After freezing it with a few palms, she easily killed it. After killing the 3 Dark Spirit Corpses, Wu Lingfei didn't continue the chase. She flashed and landed beside Night Sorrow. Baidu search AI go female sign xiao say www.ichuxs.com Auntie Fei, you are too overbearing. Night Sorrow said excitedly. Originally, I couldn't be bothered to deal with them. Our Eastern Xian region is also training our soldiers, but I didn't expect them to have such thoughts and want to fight their way in. Wu Lingfei's words were filled with disdain and confidence. After a while, Lei Hua, Lan Yuxuan, Qin Nan, Ho Yuan, and the others returned. Their complexions weren't too good. When they arrived in front of Wu Lingfei, they bowed and said, "Sorry to disappoint, Lord." They ran into the spatial tunnel. It's nothing. Stabilize the situation and follow the old plan. This Lord will stay here. If they have the ability, then charge. Wu Lingfei threw down these words and then waved her hand at the others. Lei Hua and the others bowed and left to prepare the defense. Let's go. Go and make a pot of tea for Auntie Fei. Wu Lingfei turned and said to Night Sorrow. Oh, send a CD. Night Sorrow nodded and brought Wu Lingfei into the tent. Yang Lei and Xikong Qiu also followed. Holding the tea that Night Sorrow made, Wu Lingfei played with the teacup and pondered. Then Lord, please take a seat. We will go out for a walk. Yang Lei and Xikong Qiu stood up. Wu Lingfei was wearing a mask so she couldn't drink tea. However, she didn't intend to take off her mask. Sit. You are all Night Sorrow's people. Some things can't be hidden forever. Wu Lingfei said and took off her mask. This lord is the Tower Lord of Tianji Tower in front of others. However, I am also the City Lord of Dongshan City. When I am in charge of Tianji Tower, I wear a mask. When I am in charge of the City Lord Manor, I wear a veil. Only a few people know of this lord's identity. In fact, it's not that I am afraid of being exposed. I just don't want to be involved in too many things. Wu Lingfei said while drinking tea. Lord, don't worry. We are not people with big mouths. Yang Lei said. At this time, she was still shocked by Wu Lingfei's stunning beauty. Night Sorrow, why didn't you activate the spirit orb that Auntie Fei gave you? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Didn't Auntie Faye say that I should only activate it when my life is in danger? The situation just now was quite urgent, but it wasn't to the point where my life was in danger. Night Sorrow said the reason why he didn't activate it. You are right. These things are Eastern Xian region's matters. Auntie Faye gave you the spirit orb, which is for your personal use. If it is not necessary, you can't activate it. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. You two also sit down. If you don't mind, you can call this lord the same way as Night Sorrow. Although this lord's face is young, I didn't take advantage of you. Wu Lingfei looked at Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu and said. Auntie Faye is joking. Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu both nodded. Your sky blue water attribute has been activated, and it has also begun to strengthen your body. This is the effect of an ultimate attribute. This lord's profound jade body is also based on the same principle as yours. Wu Lingfei looked at Xikong Chuyu and said. Many thanks for Auntie Faye's guidance. Xikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. Your name is Yang Lei, right? You don't need to worry. Every attribute has an ultimate attribute, and the thunder attribute is the same. Whether you can comprehend it or not depends on the opportunity. When the opportunity arrives, it naturally won't be a problem. The thunder attribute is also divided into two types. One is the purple flame thunder attribute, and the other is the black demon thunder attribute. The former belongs to the gentler side of the thunder attribute and contains vitality. It is like an ancient tree that can still be reborn after being struck by lightning. This is the purple flame thunder attribute, and the black demon thunder attribute is destructive. If you have the opportunity, you should also walk the former path. Wu Lingfei looked at Yang Lei and said. Many thanks for Auntie Faye's advice. Yang Lei stood up and cupped her hands. You don't need to be so polite. Night Sorrow, later on you will prepare a tent for Auntie Faye. During this time, Auntie Faye will cultivate here. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Good, I will prepare it for Auntie Faye in a moment. Night Sorrow came out of the tent and said to Ho Jian before returning to the tent. Your cultivation has increased, but at this stage you must advance steadily. Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow again. Is Auntie Faye's cultivation progressing well? Night Sorrow asked. He already understood Wu Lingfei's level. Wu Lingfei's goal was to break through to the sage realm and become a sage. If she could take this step, then the problem of the death space would be solved. How should I say it? If I forcefully break through, there is a chance. But if I have time to settle down, it will be better. Besides, I'm not in a hurry now. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Auntie Faye, what is the level of the dark spirit corpse today? Night Sorrow thought for a moment and asked. It is indeed very strong. It is at the late stage of the sage realm. Because its attribute suppresses Lei Hua and the others, and its cultivation is higher, Lei Hua and the others couldn't withstand it. Wu Lingfei said. Chapter 460. Genius 1 second. Remember love/go/little? Xuanhuan provides you with wonderful novels to read. That guy should be the leader of the death space. He's already at the peak of the 8th level and can enter the 9th level at any time. Wu Lingfei said. You, L forever, K long? Exempt X hashtag Fiyun look at little percent / say, Auntie Faye, are you confident in dealing with it? Night Sorrow asked. No problem, I think I'll still need you when the time comes. Wu Lingfei glanced at Night Sorrow and said. I'm fine. If you need me to do anything, just let me know. Night Sorrow said. Let's not talk about the Dark Island's spatial tunnel rejecting cultivators above the 5th level. The spatial tunnel's energy resistance is very strong, right? It looks at attributes. The death attribute suppresses other attributes, so ordinary attributes will be blocked outside. However, you won't be suppressed. You can enter. Wu Lingfei said. But won't I be abused if I go in? Night Sorrow said with a bitter smile. No, I'll put it this way. The soul orb that Auntie Faye gave you isn't an ordinary soul orb. It's a phantom stone orb that contains a soul avatar. The phantom stone can nourish the avatar. In the end, it won't be much different from the original body. Wu Lingfei said. This is Auntie Faye's soul avatar? Night Sorrow took out the phantom stone orb and looked at Wu Lingfei with surprise. Yes, when it's cultivated to perfection, it'll be a flesh and blood avatar. Wu Lingfei explained. Then I understand. Night Sorrow then put away the phantom stone orb. Last time, when I asked you to take the memory crystal to the crack in the dark sky, I wasn't worried about your safety because the phantom stone was in your arms. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. So it's like this. Then why didn't Auntie Faye take care of that fellow after seeing it last time? Night Sorrow asked the question in his heart. Because it's not worth it, Aunt Faye's clone has not cultivated to the large success realm, If it comes out from the Void Dao Stone, the losses will be great. That guy is at most a jar, not even a porcelain. Do you think it's worth it for Aunt Fei to lose her own clone and fight with it? Wu Lingfei smiled as she looked at Night Sorrow. Of course it's not worth it. How can it compare to Auntie Fei? Thank you, Auntie Fei. Night Sorrow bowed and said. His heart was filled with gratitude because Wu Lingfei had mentioned it a few times. If she were to activate the Void Dao Stone orb in danger, it would be equivalent to destroying her clone's future. You call me Auntie Fei, so you are my family in this world. If you are in danger, Auntie Fei will not sit idly by. Actually, Auntie Fei has long treated you as a junior. Wu Lingfei reached out to help Night Sorrow up. Night Sorrow nodded and did not say anything else. When Auntie Fei's clone cultivates to the large success realm, you can bring the Void Dao Stone orb into this space and activate it. Then Auntie Fei's clone will be able to clean up the guy inside. Wu Lingfei said her thoughts. Auntie Fei, just inform me when you can. Night Sorrow said. Alright then, let's do it this way. You don't have to feel any pressure, this is not a big deal. Auntie Fei will go and cultivate. In addition, you don't have to worry about any law attacks. Right now, Auntie Fei is in the nourishing stage, so it won't cause any other disturbances. After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, she put on her mask and left Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow had already arranged for Ho Jian and the others to set up their tents. After sending off Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and Xikong Chuyu sat facing each other. It's too shocking. I've seen venerables fight before. It's not easy for venerables to kill venerables. After all, at that level, if they don't want to fight, they can still run away. But Auntie Fei's methods. Xikong Chuyu sighed. She can dominate the battle by herself. She can directly kill them. She can directly declare that if you don't accept it, then come. I guess this venerables won't come out. If they come out, they'll just die. Yang Lei was also deeply moved. Yi Shang didn't say anything. He just smiled at the two women and continued to cultivate. He wanted to cultivate his Jin Qi and soul power, as well as strengthen his bloodline talent. As for the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome, he wanted to stabilize his cultivation and advance naturally. The consolidation realm of the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome was a very easy realm for Night Sorrow. In the past, every advancement and breakthrough was an unbearable torture for him. Once he started cultivating, Night Sorrow lost all sense of time. He cultivated for 3 days straight. He only stood up after exhausting all the soul crystals in his hand. His Myriad Dao Treasured Tome cultivation had also reached level 9 of the consolidation realm. This time, not only did Night Sorrow successfully break through the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome, his Qi cultivation had also reached perfection. He could break through at any time. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to break through. He glanced at Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu, who were meditating with their eyes closed. He then left the tent and went to the front of the line of defense. This time, Lord Wu Kei has really scared the dark creatures. Their line of defense collapsed. Some of the high-level dark creatures ran back, and the low-level ones were all killed. Can be said that they have regained their clarity. Lan Yuxuan came to Night Sorrow's side and said, Yes, this is the power of the strong. One person can change the situation of the battle and turn the situation around. Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei's arrival had caused the dark creatures to retreat. This made him feel very emotional. Your cultivation has improved very quickly. I believe that you will be such a person in the future. Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow and said, Haha, Lord Supervisor is too kind. However, I will work hard. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's not a compliment. It's the truth. Take it slow. You can definitely do it. Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow seriously and said. Night Sorrow nodded. He believed in himself. Currently he could fight above his level. As long as he maintained this momentum, he would definitely be able to fight above his level when he entered the Supremacy Realm in the future. As for whether he could enter the Supremacy Realm, Night Sorrow had never worried. If he could cultivate his soul power, entering the Supremacy Realm would not be a problem. Currently, the dark creatures have retreated. However, the hidden problem is still there. Every day that we don't solve it is another day that we won't feel at ease. This spatial passageway is very biased. It really makes people feel very helpless. Lan Yuxuan looked at the direction of the spatial passageway and said, Everything will work out when the time comes. There shouldn't be any problem that can't be solved. It's just that the time isn't right yet. Night Sorrow said. As for the solution that Wu Lingfei mentioned, Night Sorrow did not mention it. Night Sorrow, your cultivation base has reached the peak of the peak 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. You are about to enter the mid-Void Inquiry stage. Qi Nan also walked over. Since Commander Qin is here, I plan to rest for a while before going to break through. Knight Sorrow said. Very good. The speed of your improvement is really impressive. Reaching the mid-void inquiry stage before the age of 20 has never happened before in the history of the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Lan Yuxuan said. There should be. Perhaps I keep a low profile and don't want people to know about me. So, Supervisor Lan and Commander Qin, please don't praise me. Knight Sorrow said. Chapter 461. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That energy slash is my innate bloodline power, Knight Sorrow said. Knight Sorrow didn't have the habit of lying. Either he evaded or didn't say anything. As for the situation with the spatial crack, Lan Yuxuan, Qin Nan, and the others had all seen it. It wasn't appropriate for him to evade. You actually have a bloodline talent? You haven't even reached Tier 5, yet your combat techniques and control are already at the venerable realm. You've even surpassed me. Now you've even come up with some bloodline talent. Do you still want others to live? Qin Nan looked at Knight Sorrow unhappily. I was born with it. There's nothing I can do about it, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. All right. This commander has nothing to say. Qin Nan shook her head. After chatting with Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan for a while, Knight Sorrow went to have a drink with his senior brothers before returning to his tent. When Knight Sorrow returned, Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu were practicing carving. Wu Lingfei was also present. Aunt Fei, you're here. Knight Sorrow greeted her with a smile. And for you to be able to find this path, you are truly formidable. This is indeed a good method. Soul power is mental energy. Focus your mind and your soul power will increase quickly. You really have a way. Although I didn't check, Aunt Fei can feel that your soul power already has a foundation. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, Knight Sorrow is very shameless. His soul force can cultivate by itself, and he can also absorb soul crystals. We can only use this method. Xikong Chuyu pointed at Knight Sorrow and complained. Yi Shang really is shameless in some ways, but there's nothing we can do about it. The way you two cultivate your soul strength isn't bad. Once your foundation is stable, you can cultivate on your own. Although you can't compare to Yi Shang, you'll still be ahead of other cultivators. That's good enough, said Wu Lingfei. Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu both nodded. It was a joke to say that Knight Sorrow was shameless. Love go little Seiko, alright, you guys continue to cultivate. Wu Lingfei got up and left the tent. After sending concubine Wu Ling off, Knight Sorrow greeted the two ladies and went into seclusion. He wanted to break through to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. While Knight Sorrow was in seclusion, the others weren't idling around either. Some of them were in seclusion while others were cultivating. Currently, only 7 or 8 people in the Bloodstrike Guard had yet to reach the 5th rank. Lei Bao and Lei Zheng had also reached the peak of the 8th level of the Divine Severing Realm. It was only recently that they advanced to the 9th level of the Divine Severing Realm. Qin Zhen had the smoothest progress. He had already entered the Divine Severing Realm. Other than Knight Sorrow, there was no one else in the Medicine Valley who could achieve this speed. It was Knight Sorrow who overshadowed his sharpness. Tianyu brought the silver fox out to play every day. It was different from before. Not only did it eat cooked food, but it also ate raw food. Perhaps it needed a lot of energy. Besides, its successful advancement had also increased its ferocious chi. After spending 2 days, Knight Sorrow's true chi cultivation base reached the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. After his advancement, Knight Sorrow was one of the strongest second-generation disciples in the Medicine Valley. Currently, the strongest second-generation disciples in the Medicine Valley were Gong Xian and Yang Lei, who were both at the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Knight Sorrow was also at the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. After a successful advancement and stabilizing his cultivation base, Knight Sorrow went out of the tent and stretched his body. Silver Fox, come here. Knight Sorrow was stunned when he saw the Silver Fox. It was because the Silver Fox had entered the Divine Severing Realm without him knowing. At this moment, Tianyu's spirit wave reached Knight Sorrow's mind. It told Knight Sorrow that the Silver Fox felt that its innate bloodline would cause a disturbance if it broke through in the campsite. Therefore, it asked Tianyu to bring it to the Broken Cloud Mountain to break through. Not bad. Knight Sorrow reached out his hand and touched the Silver Fox's head. Knight Sorrow played with Tianyu and the Silver Fox for a while. Then he went to visit his brothers in the Blood Robes Guards. He also asked Xueling about the issue of resources. We have the resources. Thank you very much, Captain. Xueling bowed to Knight Sorrow. You're welcome. I can concoct pills myself. What I lack is the materials. We can slowly gather the materials. The most practical thing is to turn the resources we have into strength. Night Sorrow said. Materials? We, the 5th squad of the Blood Robes Guards, used to train in the mountains. We have collected a lot of materials. I'll ask later. Xueling's eyes lit up when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Okay. What kind of pills do you want to concoct? Having the materials is not a problem. Night Sorrow nodded to Xueling. After chatting with Xueling for a while, Night Sorrow went to drink with Ho Jian and Lei Bao before returning to the tent. You don't have to worry too much. They are very motivated people, Yang Lei said. Since they trust me as their captain, I have to ask them. Night Sorrow sat down and said, You did well. Have some tea. Sikong Chiyu poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow. With Aunt Fei here it's so quiet. The dark creatures don't even come out, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Aunt Fei's existence is the reason they came out. They are attacking the insurmountable mountain of the eastern Shen region. If they don't defeat Aunt Fei, all their methods and everything they rely on will be useless, Sikong Chiyu said. Yes. I don't know how long it will take to finish things here. Let's just cultivate here. Night Sorrow said. We'd better go with the flow. A calm heart will be at peace. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. She was worried that Night Sorrow would not like this situation. Night Sorrow nodded. His state of mind was relatively calm. In the following days, Night Sorrow cultivated his foundation at night and his combat skills during the day. Then he took Tianyu out to hunt to improve the food of the Blood Robes Guards. In addition, his 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear had reached 6 spears in 1. X only I genuine EQ, Q his carrot he 3 was a pirated version. According to Wu Lingfei, he would be able to cultivate the 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear to perfection when he reached the late 5th order. The Blood Robes Guards, Ho Jian, and the others would practice combat skills every day. However, Night Sorrow couldn't because there was no one to spar with him. Cultivating the 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear to 6 spears in 1 allowed Night Sorrow's combat ability to improve. Night Sorrow also wanted to cultivate the Rebound Energy and Needle in the Cotton, but he was stopped by Wu Lingfei who had come out to take a breather. Wu Lingfei felt that Night Sorrow's 3 energy exertion techniques were enough. Switching back and forth between 3 energy exertion techniques was already very good for offense and defense. Night Sorrow had absorbed Wu Lingfei's opinion. He also understood that some things were much better when cultivated to perfection than when grasping many things without proficiency. In addition, Wu Lingfei also taught Night Sorrow how to hide his attributes on a deeper level. Previously, Night Sorrow had used the mysterious jade spiritual energy in his hands to change his attributes, which was more troublesome. Now Wu Lingfei had taught Night Sorrow a unique skill to dissolve his attributes. This was the 2nd stage of the mysterious jade hands. When the Dantian's true qi was circulated through the veins in the hands, the mysterious jade hands characteristics would be used to dissolve the attributes. The 2nd stage of the mysterious jade hands was very powerful. Not only did it solve Night Sorrow's problem of concealing his attributes, it could also dissolve the opponent's attributes. This was a heaven-defying method. Chapter 462. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I'll provide you with wonderful novels to read. Thank you Aunt Fei. Love gone little say, Chu Night Sorrow who had successfully upgraded the mysterious jade hands, bowed to Wu Lingfei. Hee Aunt Fei is happy that you've achieved something. I'm really happy. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Actually I like Aunt Fei's eye seal the most. That move is really domineering. Night Sorrow said. That won't work. That's the manifestation of Aunt Fei's mysterious jade body's ice attribute energy. You only have ice attribute in your hands. That's far from enough. Moreover, the mysterious jade hands can only dissolve ordinary attributes. Ordinary attributes can't restrain it, but it can't dissolve high-level attributes. It can only dissolve your own attributes because they all come from your body. Wu Lingfei said while shaking her head. Night Sorrow helplessly nodded. He couldn't cultivate the ice seal. There was nothing he could do about it. Night Sorrow, you should be content with what you have. Wait until you've succeeded in cultivating the nihility attribute. You'll have more trump cards. The sovereign attribute can suppress other attributes. However, it's better if you don't show it. It'll attract too much hatred. Wu Lingfei sighed. She had never heard of anyone who could master the sovereign attribute. I'll work hard. Night Sorrow said while waving his arms. Take your time. I'm really looking forward to it. Wu Lingfei said. Aunt Fei, there's one more thing I want to tell you. After the matter here is settled, I'll leave the eastern Shen region to explore the outside world. Night Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. Aunt Fei understands. Aunt Fei won't stop you. We'll discuss it in detail when the time comes. Wu Lingfei said. Okay, I'll tell Aunt Fei in detail when the time comes. Night Sorrow said. Those guys are asking for a beating. They even want to expand their forces towards the eastern Shen region. We've really given them some face. This matter isn't over yet. Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Wu Lingfei had a huge grudge with the Qingtian region and Taiwei region. To be precise, it was the eastern Shen region that had a huge grudge with them. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. Night Sorrow's cultivation was multi-pronged. He ate the origin spiritual liquid, held the ice spirit blood essence in his left hand, and held the soul crystal in his right hand. He cultivated his quintessential qi, the myriad Daos tome, and his soul energy together. This made Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu shake their heads. This situation had only happened to Night Sorrow. They had never heard of anyone else doing this. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Night Sorrow was facing a problem as well. He had used up all the ice spirit blood essence, and his myriad Tao tome was only at the mid-stage of the 9th level of the consolidation realm. He was still half a level away. This made Night Sorrow feel very helpless. He really didn't want to use the life spirit liquid. The life spirit liquid was a top-grade resource. In the future, he would be able to use it when he reached the 6th or even the 7th step of the myriad Tao tome. Using it now was equivalent to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. What's wrong? Why are you frowning? Wu Lingfei entered the tent and saw Night Sorrow frowning. Resources. Auntie Fei, you know that I cultivate my body. I'm currently at the peak of the 4th step, and I'm just 1 step away from advancing. However, I still don't have the resources to reach the 5th step. Night Sorrow said. When you reached the 4th step, you used the ice spirit blood essence to aid your cultivation, right? You can continue to search for the 5th step resources in the eastern Icefield Sea. Wu Lingfei said. The ice spirit blood essence is very suitable for my cultivation of the 4th step. However, it's lacking when it comes to the 5th step. Night Sorrow expressed his confusion. Auntie Fei, you know that the eastern Icefield Sea doesn't only have the ice spirit blood essence. There's also a type of black tortoise crystal. It's an energy body that's even stronger than the ice spirit blood essence. However, this type of crystal is buried at the bottom of the Icefield Sea and is very difficult to find. When your body's qi and blood churn and your essence qi rises, it should trigger a reaction from the black tortoise crystal. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. Then I understand. It's good that you have a target. I'll go look for it later. Night Sorrow was somewhat excited. The general area is east of the eastern snow mountain. Black tortoises have appeared in that sea region. The black tortoise crystal is formed when their energy is tempered by the Icefield Sea's Icefield Qi after they die. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Good. That's great. Night Sorrow was extremely happy. Then Auntie Fei will tell you another piece of good news. Wu Lingfei smiled at Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei, don't spoil my appetite. Tell me what other good news you have. I've been having a headache trying to find the resources to cultivate this body. It's best if you can solve it. Night Sorrow asked somewhat anxiously. The black tortoise crystal is ordinary. There's also a type of blood spirit tortoise. After their deaths, they'll be tempered by the Icefield Sea and form a crystal that contains even more tyrannical energy. That's the blood spirit tortoise crystal. Of course, it's very difficult to obtain. Wu Lingfei said. I'll definitely get it. As long as it's available, I'll find a way to get it. Night Sorrow said. This is what Auntie Fei found after she was injured. It's recorded in an ancient body cultivator's handbook. It's definitely available, but it's very difficult to obtain. That senior only managed to obtain one. Wu Lingfei said. Then I'll prepare and set off. Night Sorrow said. You have to be steady. Steadiness is also a result of settling down and also a sign of maturity. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Chapter TG New Chapter, Section Z. Night Sorrow understands. I'm just too excited. This problem has always been on my mind. If I can solve this problem, then I'll only need to cultivate in the future and not think about anything else. Night Sorrow clenched his fist and said. I won't stimulate you anymore. Prepare and set off. Also be careful. The blood spirit tortoise is not to be trifled with. It's very strong, but its weakness is its slow speed. The other threat is the snow doves. They're a group of demon beasts. Wu Lingfei said. Don't worry, Auntie Fei. Night Sorrow nodded. I'm not worried about you. Also, if your life is in danger, just activate the Void Dao Stone Orb. My doppelganger will be able to cultivate to large success. When you reach the ice plains sea, my doppelganger will be more or less finished cultivating. Wu Lingfei warned Night Sorrow. I understand. Then I'll set off tonight. Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded and didn't say anything else. She'd already warned him. After chatting with Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu for a while and informing the Bloodstrike guards in Ho Jian, Night Sorrow rode on Qianyu and set off with Silver Fox. Qianyu's speed was extremely fast. In a few hours they arrived at Nebula Sect's Nebula City. Night Sorrow took the teleportation array to the Thunder Rumbling Sect. The Thunder Rumbling Sect was the closest to the eastern ice plains. Night Sorrow wore a mask so the people from the Thunder Rumbling Sect didn't even ask. After leaving the Thunder Rumbling City, Night Sorrow flew towards the eastern ice plains. Even from the Thunder Rumbling Sect to the eastern ice plains, there was still a distance of hundreds of thousands of miles. Qianyu flew rapidly every day. Night Sorrow cultivated on Qianyu's back. Night Sorrow noticed that Silver Fox's cultivation was increasing very quickly. Its speed of absorbing energy was very fast. Night Sorrow could almost feel the energy of heaven and earth converging on its body. Night Sorrow's cultivation was also increasing very quickly. Now he was cultivating without any distractions. He was even faster than when he was camping at Broken Cloud Mountain. After all, there were still some things to take care of at the campsite. Chapter 463. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The Nine-Tailed Fox was a top-tier beast in ancient times. It was also in the top 10 of the beast ranking. It was on the same level as the Green Rock, Black Luan, Golden Dragon, and Blood Kirin. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow didn't dare to expose the Silver Fox in front of others. It was too shocking and would cause conflict. The Nine-Tailed Fox's bloodline was very noble. Its blood was an extremely precious material that could change a cultivator's physique. If word got out, who knew how many people would covet it? The Silver Fox had 5 tails. 4 were big and 1 was small at the bottom. However, its size was still the same. It didn't grow, but its combat strength had increased a lot. The Silver Fox's 4 sharp claws and tails were fierce weapons. Ordinary level 4 monsters couldn't even touch its shadow before they were killed. However, Night Sorrow still didn't know what attribute this Silver Fox had. After 20 days, Night Sorrow arrived at the eastern ice field. When he arrived at the eastern ice field, Night Sorrow had a familiar feeling. He had been here twice and each time it was different. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't get off his mount. He directly flew. He felt that there was no need to run on the ice. 1 piece of ice spirit blood essence was enough. There was no need to specifically look for it. When he went to the East Snow Mountain to look for the Shen Turtle Crystal, he could do it on the way. At the same time, Night Sorrow also knew the importance of resources. If he had the support of the Ice Spirit Blood Essence, he would have reached the peak of the Consolidation Realm. However, there was still a long way to go. After spending a day and a half, Night Sorrow arrived at the East Snow Mountain. Standing on Tianyu's back and looking at the East Snow Mountain, Night Sorrow felt a little emotional. The Wu Lingfei he met here had also changed his own path here. Without stopping, Night Sorrow rode Tianyu and continued to fly east. After flying for a few hundred miles, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the ice. This was the area that Wu Lingfei had mentioned. In other words, there was a Shen Turtle Crystal here. After landing on the ice, Night Sorrow started to circulate the Myriad Tao Tome at full speed. He was still trying to attract the Ice Spirit's blood essence to erupt. More accurately, he was trying to attract the Black Tortoise's spiritual body to erupt. At this moment, Night Sorrow was circulating the Myriad Daos Tome at full power. The essence chi above his head had already reached a height of more than 10 meters. After Night Sorrow activated the Myriad Dao Tome, he ran on the ice. After running for tens of miles, an explosive sound came from the ice surface. An ice well appeared. Then, a blood-red crystal appeared in the well. In the past, Night Sorrow had to be very careful when collecting them. Now he didn't have to. He stretched out his arm and shot out a beam of energy, shaking the ice origin well. Then he reached out and grabbed the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. Love Go Little Sake Night Sorrow exhaled. The Ice Spirit Blood Essence could no longer satisfy his needs. What he needed were the Spirit Turtle Crystals, and in large quantities at that. After all, those were the resources to support his Dao Querying Realm cultivation in the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome. Going from the Dao Querying Realm to the Spirit Refinement Realm required a large amount of resources. Then Night Sorrow continued to move forward. 4 hours later, Night Sorrow felt a tremor beneath his feet. The tremor was getting stronger and stronger. Then there was a rumbling sound. After Night Sorrow left his original spot, He realized that the rumbling sound was following him. Then there was an explosion behind him. The ice surface exploded and a water column shot up into the sky. In the water column, there was a white light that rushed towards Night Sorrow. Not knowing what was going on, Night Sorrow activated his protective shield and retreated quickly. Night Sorrow retreated quickly. The white light chased after him. However, at this moment Night Sorrow could see clearly what the white light was. It was a white crystal that contained extremely dense energy. It was the energy of blood. After stopping, Night Sorrow waved his arm and grabbed the crystal in his hand. Mystic Tortoise Crystal. After grabbing the crystal that was the size of a human head, Night Sorrow confirmed what it was. It was the Mystic Tortoise Crystal that he needed. Night Sorrow reached out and rubbed the Mystic Tortoise Crystal. Then he put it in his ring and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow felt that finding the Mystic Tortoise Crystal was more convenient than finding the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. This thing resonated more strongly with his blood. However, it was deeper in the sea, so it would take a longer time to trigger. Night Sorrow activated the Myriad Tau Tome at full speed and continued running. However, while running, Night Sorrow swallowed the spiritual origin liquid and held the Ice Spirit Blood Essence in his hand. He cultivated as he ran. Half a day later, another Mystic Tortoise Crystal was in Night Sorrow's hand. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this speed. Originally, he was worried that this thing would not be easy to find and would take a long time. However, according to this speed, it would not be too difficult. In the evening, Night Sorrow was also attacked. It was the most common flying demonic beast in the eastern icefield, snow doves. Moreover, they were flying demonic beasts that lived in groups. However, this group of snow doves was of a low level. The strongest was only rank 4. This group of snow doves did not pose a threat to him. This was due to Xianxu's strength. Every time Xianxu attacked, he would take the life of a snow dove. Rank 4 snow doves could not resist at all in front of the rank 5 Xianxu. After a dozen or so of them were killed, the snow doves retreated. They were suppressed by Xianxu in terms of talent and cultivation, so they did not have the ability to fight. Night Sorrow was not interested in participating in this kind of battle. He continued to run and search for the Mystic Tortoise Crystal. His days were very stable. Night Sorrow ran every day. In any case, it did not affect his cultivation. Xianxu followed behind Night Sorrow in the sky. Silver Fox was more comfortable than Night Sorrow and Xianxu. It ran behind Night Sorrow. When it was tired, it would ask Xianxu to lower its flying altitude. It would then jump on Xianxu's back to rest. When it had rested enough, it would run behind Night Sorrow. In the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had stayed in this area for more than 20 days. He collected some Ice Spirit Blood Essences, a dozen Mystic Tortoise Crystals and 2 Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystals. Night Sorrow was not satisfied with such a harvest. He did not want to let go of the opportunity to obtain cultivation resources in the future. He wanted to get more. This way he would not have to worry about the future and would not need to come here again. Night Sorrow, who had made up his mind, continued to run back and forth in this area. These 20 days of cultivation had allowed his Myriad Dao Treasured Tome to reach the peak of the 9th level of the Consolidation Realm. He would enter the Dao Querying Realm with one more step. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to level up the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome. He consolidated the cultivation of the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome while cultivating his soul power and chi. As time passed, Night Sorrow's harvest increased. He estimated that he had enough cultivation resources for the Dao Querying Realm. However, he only had 6 Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystals. It was still a little short of the number he wanted. Although he did not know how many resources were needed to reach the Golden Body Realm from the Spirit Refinement Realm, Night Sorrow knew that it would not be a small amount. After calculating the time, Night Sorrow had been out of the Eastern Shen Domain's Broken Cloud Mountain for more than 2 months. It was almost 3 months. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he should stay for a while longer. After all, Wu Lingfei was there. There would not be any problems. Above, Night Sorrow ran as he pondered. At this moment, the ground beneath Night Sorrow's feet shook violently. It was much stronger than before. It was almost incomparable. Yishang's expression changed slightly as he continued to run forward. Chapter 464. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. At this moment, Night Sorrow's heart trembled. The thing in the sky was a tortoise. It was a gigantic blood-red tortoise. Its huge body covered half of the sky. Its body was 60 to 70 feet in diameter, and its eyes were much bigger than millstones. There was even a single horn on its head. While observing this massive creature, Night Sorrow waved his arm and put the Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal that was charging at him into his storage ring. After collecting the blood spirit turtle crystal, Night Sorrow was also confined by space. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate to use spatial ren to cut open the spatial shackles. Then with a flash he fled. "Young man, don't be impatient." A booming voice rang out. "Senior." Hearing this voice, Night Sorrow, who had already run thousands of feet away, gave up the idea of running away. He turned around and greeted. The giant blood-red tortoise was still behind him, and the distance between them was still the same. Furthermore, he could feel that the giant tortoise had no intention of continuing its attack. This was also the main reason why he did not run. "It was your chi and blood that caused me to wake up from my long slumber. I came out to see you because I hope that you know when to stop and don't disturb the sleep of my Shen Turtle clan. You stimulated your chi and blood power to run, which made my clansmen unable to cultivate." The rumbling voice rang out again. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I just wanted to get some resources," Night Sorrow said. "I understand, that's why I gave you the resources you needed just now. Please don't run in this area anymore," the giant blood-colored spirit turtle said. "Thank you for your understanding and thank you for your generosity." Night Sorrow bowed and cupped his hands. "Go." The gigantic blood-colored spirit turtle's body descended, directly crushing the incomparably hard ice surface before diving into the ice-plain sea. Night Sorrow waved at Tianyu as he watched the water of the ice-filled sea surge violently before being frozen by the cold air. Then he climbed onto Tianyu's back and flew out of the eastern ice field. Night Sorrow was glad that the Blood Spirit Turtle King had a good temperament. If she had a violent temperament, why would she talk nonsense with him? Night Sorrow could break through the spatial shackles, but how many times could he break through? Night Sorrow sensed that the Blood Spirit Turtle Monarch's space bind was much stronger than the space bind of the supremacies he had encountered before. Letting out a breath, Night Sorrow sat cross-legged on Tianyu's back and began to organize his harvest. He had gotten more than 20 Shen Turtle crystals, and even more Blood Spirit Turtle crystals, 25 or 26 of them. The biggest source was the last batch that the Blood Spirit Turtle King had brought out, and there were 17 of them. "Love gone little say," Night Sorrow turned around and bowed towards the direction where the Blood Spirit Turtle King had appeared. He let out a long howl and rushed towards Thunder Rolling Mountain. Sitting on Tianyu's back, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. His cultivation of the Myriad Tao Tome had reached the peak of the Consolidation Realm, and he could break through at any time. Night Sorrow planned to leave the eastern ice field and find a place to break through. Tianyu's current speed could not be compared to before. Even if he did not use void travel, he could still cover a large distance with a flap of his wings. The resistance of space and wind was very small for Tianyu because he had both attributes. Only unspecified currency A proper S #version M, his H** are all and pirated versions. Silver Fox lay down next to Night Sorrow and slept. It was cultivating when it slept, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered towards it. After 2 days, Night Sorrow left the eastern ice field and entered the deep wilderness. After finding a safe place and letting Tianyu and Silver Fox be on guard, Night Sorrow began to break through the Myriad Tao Tome. If he did not break through, he would not be able to improve his cultivation. Night Sorrow did not want to waste time. Time was life. The cultivation of a cultivator was to go against the heavens and fight for their lives. Every cultivator's lifespan was limited. Love go go shao shua 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 w. Aichux. Don the Essence Gathering Realm had a lifespan of around 130 years. The Core Condensation Realm had a lifespan of around 200 years. The Severed Divinity Realm had a lifespan of 300 years. The Void Inquiry Stage had a lifespan of 500 years. The 6th Grade Vast Heaven Realm had a lifespan of 800 years. Of course, this was referring to ordinary cultivators. If their bodies were strong and their chi and blood were vigorous, their lifespan would be longer. In addition, demonic beasts would also exceed this range. It was normal for demonic beasts with extraordinary innate talent to live for several thousand years. If their cultivation base was high, their lifespan would be even longer. After calming down, Night Sorrow began to break through. He wanted to strengthen the heart, the last part of his internal organs. This stage was nothing much because the Consolidation Realm was just a buffer stage in the Myriad Tao Tome. After spending a night, Night Sorrow completed the strengthening of his entire body. The strengthening of his internal organs was also the last part of the strengthening stage. After completing the advancement, Night Sorrow began to stabilize his cultivation base. At this moment he felt that his entire body was filled with strength. His body was filled with surging energy. After stabilizing his cultivation base for a while, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating and called for Tianyu. Together with Tianyu he landed on Tianyu's back. Night Sorrow wanted to stabilize his cultivation base as he traveled. At the same time he would cultivate his true chi and soul power. As for the innate talent of his bloodline, Night Sorrow was currently letting it strengthen on its own. If he used too many external resources, it would be the same as a true chi cultivator who used too many resources. The degree of control over his energy would be low. While flying and cultivating, Night Sorrow arrived at the Thunder Rumbling sect's Thunder Rumbling City very quickly. Because flying demonic beasts were prohibited in the Thunder Rumbling City, Night Sorrow sat on a beast carriage and arrived at the teleportation formation. Night Sorrow was wearing the Heaven's Fate mask, so the guards of the Thunder Rumbling sect didn't question him. After paying the spirit stones, Night Sorrow directly teleported to the Nebula sect. After exiting the Nebula sect's teleportation formation, Night Sorrow rode on Xianxia and flew towards Broken Cloud Mountain. At this moment, the defensive line of Broken Cloud Mountain was peaceful. Wu Lingfei stood in front of the defensive line and looked at the spatial passage of the Domain Sea. My lord, the situation is very stable now. However, we don't know when the second wave of attacks will erupt. Still a headache. Lei Hua, who was standing behind Wu Lingfei, said, "That's right, Lord Wu Quebec. If we don't deal with this disgusting spatial passageway, the danger will always exist. It's not a good idea for us to keep guarding it." Lan Yuxuan spoke. During this period of time, she hadn't left the eastern Xian region because of some matters. Don't worry. This problem will be resolved in a few days. There's nothing to worry about. Wu Lingfei said. Lord Wu Kei, can it be resolved just like that? Ho Yuan asked in surprise. It can be resolved. Night Sorrow is on his way back. Once he's back, I'll enter the spatial passage with him and kill all the high-level dark creatures inside. The danger will naturally be resolved. Wu Lingfei closed her eyes and thought for a moment before speaking. The others didn't ask further. If Wu Lingfei said that there was a way, then there was definitely a way. Furthermore, if Wu Lingfei didn't want to talk about it, then there was no point in asking. Night Sorrow flew rapidly. Silver Fox was still cultivating by his feet. It was already at the 3rd rank of the 4th rank, so its cultivation was increasing very quickly. In the evening, Night Sorrow returned to the encampment of Broken Cloud Mountain. Seeing Night Sorrow return, Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guards, let out a few angry roars. They weren't used to Night Sorrow not being around. Later. Brothers, let's drink together. Night Sorrow waved to Ho Jian and the others before returning to the tent. Did it go smoothly? Yang Lei, who followed Night Sorrow into the tent, asked. I got all the resources. It went very smoothly. However, I encountered a huge monster, but it didn't make things difficult for me. Night Sorrow said.